ladies and gentlemen, filmmakers and moviegoers alike, welcome to this week's episode of Critically Casual. I'm your host, Srekcuf, and joining me is...
Hello there.
That almost worked. That was pretty good.
It's tough to get it in there without my hand being seen.
Yeah.
You know?
The
That's
part
the hard part.
the part that didn't quite work out was the camera didn't focus quite right.
No, yeah, that's the hard part. I think it's just the light.
Yeah.
1 second, I forgot one small amount of thing out there that I was gonna grab.
All right, you got a moment. Well, so welcome everybody to Critically Casual. I'm Srekcuf. I'm your host, and today is definitely a different kind of Critically Casual, because instead of actually going through and reviewing one or two specific movies, we are going in and we're just going to talk about Star Wars, and that's it. Just Star Wars in general, as a whole. What Star Wars is, what Star Wars has done, things in Star Wars that we have liked, possibly Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 7, so there's probably going to be spoilers for that.
Without a doubt. Since they dropped the final episode last night. Holy shit.
Yeah.
I just say it feels good to have that show finally come to like a definitive conclusion.
Yes.
After seasons of it being like, well, that's the last season now, and I'm like, but there's still so many questions.
There's so many things that can be said and done, and what the hell? So yeah.
And then it ends perfectly where if you, like, it ends perfectly that if you've watched Rebels, you're like, oh, neat.
Yeah, which I actually started that today after finishing.
Hey, you're gonna understand that thing that's circling in the end there a lot more.
So yeah. That being said, we're gonna start.
Happy May the 4th.
Yeah.
Be with you.
May the 4th be with you as well. So yeah, I've got really nothing else to say, nothing else in our intro to talk about, other than we're talking Star Wars.
Yeah.
Star Wars, man. It's freaking
Star Wars.
So
I think out of my friends, I might be the biggest Star Wars nerd.
Probably.
Just based off of just general knowledge and shit I have.
Oh, I didn't change this graphic properly. Oh, well, one more time. One more graphic. I made one more, so I'm showing it off.
Oh, shit, that's dope. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, dude, Rex up there, you even included them. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
And you included the best Anakin. The Anakin that actually had character development and things like that.
That's true. He did have...
Can we talk about... This is also going to be appreciation
Kev,
for Clone Wars.
Can you look at your nameplate, too? Just to the left of it.
What, Obi-Wan?
Yeah. Hello there.
Hello there.
His little head sticking out.
That's good. That's good.
It works.
Hello there.
So yes.
Hello there.
We're talking Star Wars.
I literally pulled up Revenge of the Sith to grab that soundbite and maybe one other.
Oh God.
I think most people might know what the second one will be, but like, I have a reason for doing it when I get there. But yeah. So like, what do we want to start with? Like,
that's a good question. I need one more second here because
go
my
ahead.
dinner's almost done. I heard the
go,
alarm
run.
go
I
off.
won't
Give me
show off
people.
all the stuff yet until you get back.
Okay. I'll be right back. I promise.
So like, no, I am like obviously a huge Star Wars nerd. Star Wars has been something I've known since I think I was born. I don't remember a time where I didn't know Star Wars. My entire adolescence was watching Star Wars movies and other nerdy shit. But like, I don't remember a time where I didn't know this line, you know? No, I am your father. Like, there's never been a time where I didn't know that, in my knowledge, which is why if I ever have kids, fun fact, I will make sure that they have that memory. I won't let them watch Star Wars right away. I'll tell them it's because I want you to remember something when it happens. I want you to have that impact that I never got from that moment because of how awesome it is. That's my gift to them if I ever have kids. Because Jesus, that is something that I wish I had because I don't remember that moment. But I know it's impacted the shit out of me. Because, like, holy hell, the impact this series has had on me is ridiculously stupid. Obviously. I'm willing to go out of my way to make a stupid bit at the beginning. Because why not? Oh, I did. I'm sorry, guys. While I was searching through, this is about last week, I did find this while I was searching through stuff for today. This little gem. Which is the one that my dad read to me when I was a kid. I had all these in here, which were really cool. Illustrations and stuff like that. It was really nice. And I'm glad I got to hold on to it because it was something from my childhood, so I'm really happy I got to keep that. And it's, you know, it's why I have such a fascination for last week's movies and why I, you know, defended the goodness of this over that, because it had a lot in here that was like, okay, no, that's not how that went though. Because it's just, I don't know, it's just how I feel about this stuff. You know, I got like, you know, I care about this kind of shit for some reason. Yeah, there's like like my problem with the mountain giants. They're supposed to look like that, not actual mountains. They're just giants in the mountains. Like, I don't know. They weren't supposed to be the mountains. It's kind of lame, making them the mountains. Personal opinion. Yeah, no, like, this has a ton of stuff, and, like, it was really cool. So I'm glad I found it, because it's fun to kind of find this and be like, oh, hey, I still have it. It's still there, you know? So, and not to harken back too much to last week, but, you know, welcome back. I was talking about how when I was searching through stuff, I found this.
Ooh.
This is the one that my dad read to me, too.
Nice.
This is the copy. The reason I know it is because it's got, like, this stuff in it. Images that they drew. And it had the map in here somewhere. Yeah, here it is. Oh. But, like, it had that in there.
Okay.
All that.
Nice.
So, again, that's why I'm such a, like, why I am passionate about why I don't like those movies is because, like, this is important to me. But that's not what we're talking about today.
Nope.
That was just how I was filling time.
Thank you for filling time.
Yeah, no problem. So, I mean, you already saw the Obi-Wan, which I've had this forever. I had 2 of these at one point. But I made sure to keep one of them, the older one that I had, kept his lightsaber. I wish I still had the belt lightsaber, because most of these action figures came with the lightsaber lit up, and then also one where it didn't have the lightsaber lit up, but it can attach to their belt hilt, because there's a little hole right there.
I see, yeah.
So that's what those ones were. I'll start with the action figures, which are stuff I've had the longest. So, you know, probably the oldest action figure I have from Star Wars, and he shows his age, and I love him because he is arguably my favorite character from Star Wars. The Wookiee himself, Chewbacca. I've had this Chewbacca probably since I was like 7.
Really? That long?
Yeah. But like I held on to him because I was like, no, this is kind of important to me in a weird way. One of my favorite clones from the Commander Squadron from that game, Commander Scorch.
Okay.
He used to have a backpack and a really cool looking blaster, and then R4 from Obi-Wan's second R4 during Revenge of the Sith, the gold R4. Yeah, like I've had those. The ones that are obvious that I was grabbing during the show, like
Your giant
all of my
Funkos.
Funkos. A shit ton of Funkos I've gotten that are Star Wars related. Mando. I've got because I bought it at this was a Target exclusive and you got it free with the game, so I was like, hell yeah, that's why I like buying stuff at work. Second Sister.
Mm-hmm.
Baby Nibbit, and it's flocked, so it's like fur-ish kind of stuff on there. So that one's really nice and Target exclusive. So nice on my part. I just talked about these the other day. We got the "I Love You, I Know," that, and a shit ton of other stuff, mostly books. But we'll do the games first, and gaming related stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I brag about it, but I rarely actually show it off.
Da da da. Nice.
It's nicknamed the Dark Side as well. When you connect to devices. And I was really happy because it came with this as well, which, if you look at the embroidering on the touchpad, it's Star Wars. And then it has, red and blue. I love that O button on there. I love this controller. And if I can, I'll buy a second controller just to retire this controller to being the cool controller on the shelf. Because I don't want to damage it. Other games, I had Battlefront 1, the original Battlefront 1, and then the remake Battlefront 1. Someone stole that Battlefront, and I think the OG Battlefront 1 got lost during one of the moves. But I still have Battlefront 2 for PS2. I've still got the Force Unleashed duology, and, of course, recently, I got Jedi Fallen Order. Because they're cool to show off, still. That's game-wise. Shirt, my other Star Wars shirt, because I've had other Star Wars shirts, but I wear them so much, apparently I've worn them out. I used to have a brown one that had a really cool, 3 different little lines going behind the Star Wars logo, that were different colored. And then this is the other one I've got. It's Darth Vader in front of a crowd.
Rocking his socks off.
Yeah, but I chose to go with this one because I prefer this one personally. It's a little subtler. And if you catch the Vader, you're like, oh, nice shirt. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Of course, before the books, movies. I've got all but the last one. I've got both the OG cool, badass animation, Samurai Jack animation, Clone Wars DVDs. And then I've got Solo, Rogue One, the saga, episodes 1 through 6, 7, and 8. I still need 9, but I'm holding off on buying it because there's more important things to buy than that movie. And then the books. I've managed to get a lot of these through just growing up. I have the original saga, episodes 1, 2, 3, visual eyewitness guides. And then a friend on Christmas one year, he's like, hey, I bought you this for The Force Awakens, the year that came out. So I had the eyewitness guides to episodes 1 through 7. I don't know if they still make those for the other ones. I have the Star Wars, the new Essential Character Guide, which is now outdated by years at this point.
It's definitely not new.
Because it was, no, not even close, but I got it when it was new, and it was before Clone Wars came out. And then I read through the new Essential Chronological Guide to the Galaxy. I read through all, well, let me double check how many pages this thing was. It's not that impressive, but there's a lot of information in here that I still retained. It's 230 pages of just, hey, this happened then, and it's really stale. But I read through this shit.
Yeah, it's a Star Wars history book.
Yeah. But I read through and retained a lot of that shit. I had 2 of the Anakin Skywalker books, which I love these because they have that weird Jake Lloyd, Hayden Christensen, weird, evolution thing on the back there. And you get some weird looking, Anakins through that. I was like, oh, that's how he became that.
That's how he animorphed. Ah, I see.
Yeah, pretty much. The only thing really new canon I've gotten book-wise so far, and I like... Oh, no, I have another one, Bloodlines. I have another book. I left that out there. My bad. Forgot Bloodlines. I have Bloodlines, which is a Leia story from after Episode 6, when she's in the New Galactic Senate. And Mon Mothma just retired, I think. But I haven't finished that one. I did finish this, though, Lords of the Sith, which is good. It's a story about...
Isn't that the one
Vader
where they
and
end
Leia.
up getting trapped on a planet alone?
Yeah, on Todaria? Not the other one. The one with what Hera's people are. Where the Twi'leks live. They get trapped on that planet.
But I know I don't remember the name,
offhand.
but I know what you're talking about.
But they're always trying to like free themselves because they end up as slaves a lot. Our mutual friend, our mutual friend Joe. One Christmas, got a few friends these, and I ended up with arguably the best one, because he knows me. William Shakespeare's Empire Strikes Back.
Striketh back. Thank you.
Yeah, well, you know, but it's pretty good. This like it like actually changes like the lines. My great Lord Vader was the last that. Here, hold on. The swift Millennium Falcon made its way onto the fields of asteroids, and that, my great Lord Vader, was the last that they within our scopes did it appear. They must have been destroyed, if one considers all the damage that we have tolerated here. It's in Shakespearean, and I love it. Me and my friends jokingly went, we could do Star Wars Shakespeare in the park at some point. Because he got A New Hope, and I got Empire Striketh Back. I can't remember what The New Hope was.
A neweth hope?
It was probably something stupid like that.
It's
and
a
then,
new hopeth.
The thing I've bragged about the most, and it used to sit on the desk, but it no longer sits on the desk. The complete Star Wars Encyclopedia, which was made just after, I think season 1 or 2 of Clone Wars was made. So it's no longer complete. We'll say that. But it does have all the old lore in it. And one of my favorites in this, in book 2, which is H through O. If you can't figure out what the other ones are from that, then learn your alphabet. I'm filling a lot of time, which gives you plenty of time to eat, and so...
Yeah, I wasn't expecting you to have all this time. That's why I'm eating.
Yeah, no, fair.
I wasn't expecting this to be
dude.
a show and tell. I was expecting to talk about the cinema and how it's changed people and things like that.
This is my favorite page, though.
The encyclopedia of everybody's lightsabers?
Dude, there are some sick-ass lightsabers. There's, like, some made out of claws, wood ones.
Like the
Some made out of, like... Yeah, it's a Wookiees one, actually, I believe, the wood one. They're all fucking badass. Yeah, no, And, like, the other newer thing I got was that lunch pail I showed off the other day. Which I have over here. Oh, shit. That's where that is. I forget I store stuff sometimes near my books. There's some old prom photos in there.
Ooh, that's awkward.
Yeah. Yikes. Those got two. One of them has like a couple of them have two of my good friends from back then. So that's cool. Let me get those put away.
You've got a lot of stuff there, Dev.
And of course, I just got this because 40th anniversary. I got both the glass set. This.
Mm-hmm.
Today they put out the Princess Leia Cloud City, and I can't afford to get it, and I'm not probably gonna get it. But like, there's a part of me because I already have a Leia.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want another Leia, I guess, because I'm not really like a hardcore Funko collector. I just kind of grab ones I want.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I don't really need dupes, I guess, of the same character.
Yeah.
And honestly, this is probably the most impactful scene for me with Leia and Han anyway, so, you know. That's that. Yeah, obviously, I'm a big Star Wars nerd.
I can't
No,
say
and
nearly
before
as
you
much
left,
myself. So
as I was saying before, I plan on, if I ever have kids, making sure that they don't watch Star Wars too early, because I want them to remember the moment that the line, "No, I am your father," is said, because I don't have that memory. Like remembering like the first time I heard that
I,
and
I'm
had that
gonna
reveal.
I'm gonna laugh when the day comes when it's like, no, I am your father, and you're gonna look at your kids and they'll just be like,
Fuck off. Gotta hope they have some like good movie taste.
A New Hope.
I mean, that's how I'm gonna show it to them. I'm gonna show them in the order movies came out, I guess, so that they can experience the good, and then see how its turmoil happened, and then experience Clone Wars like in the order the seasons came out. In between these things, I will machete style show them Clone Wars.
All right.
Except for the beginning, because I will like reorder it so that the episodes are in the order that they actually happen for the first 3 seasons, because that's my biggest quarrel with Clone Wars. Is that it's not in order for the first like 3 seasons. It's kind of like, ooh, this happened then and this happened then. Like, well, why do that? Why did you do that?
They don't need chronological order. It's just the tales of the Clone Wars as it's happening.
But no, it's not as it's happening.
Sorry, it doesn't. I didn't mean as it's happening. It's just the tale of the Clone Wars, and they tell the stories that are important whenever they want to tell them.
Yeah, but it just kind of bothers me because it's tough to tell. Like when the Tredarian King shows up, the flying dude, and like he shows up like at 3 different points to set up that arc, and I'm like, bruh, what? What point in time is this for you?
You know,
You guys are now allies, but you're not allies during this part, and then so that happened before. But why are you showing this after? I don't know. It bothers me when it's like when Firefly was shown. I guess who was associated with the beginning of the Clone Wars? Oh yeah, that's right. Fucking fake Fox. Fox all the rights, I believe.
I have no idea. I don't really know about the history of Star Wars. I don't know anything about anything.
The history of Star Wars, you say?
Yes, exactly.
Let me pull out the chronological guide.
Like, me looking through my stuff here.
Oh, I didn't even grab the plaques and posters. God. Oh, that would have been... That's a good, like, another 5 or 6 things. Because I did get a the new Baby Yoda, or the child poster that I haven't hung up yet. I have the Chewie poster. I have the 4 plaques. I have I have another one for Battlefront, because I got that with the PS4, and it came with the dual-sided poster. I'm like, really wish I got 2, because then I could show off both. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Like, me just sitting here, looking at all the stuff I have, which isn't much. I have 3 Star Wars shirts, maybe. No, I have 3.
More than I currently have.
Yeah, I have this one, which I'm wearing now. I have one that is a red Stormtrooper, I believe. I can't remember what they're called specifically. And
Sith Trooper, I think, from the latest episode.
I believe so, yes. And it says, "Fear the power of the dark side," which never ever said in the movies, but whatever, it's fine. The last shirt I have is just, like, modern. I think it was Return of the Jedi? No, sorry. New movie.
Oh,
7.
Last Jedi?
Yeah, episode 7. Sorry.
Oh, Force Awakens.
Force Awakens. It was a Force Awakens shirt. So, that being said, like, I still do enjoy the Star Wars. The one thing that I love about Star Wars itself is the fact that, a lot of film creators would call Star Wars a great movie-making sandbox because it's sci-fi, it's fantasy, there's a mixture of everything in between, and you can, like, really do whatever you want in Star Wars.
I mean, look at all the shows that are coming out. Like, we got Mando, which is a Western. We've had Clone Wars, Rebels, and Resistance, which are all kid shows, but, like, Clone Wars grows up with that generation that watched it. I hope you can attest to that. The later seasons definitely feel more adult.
A bit more, yeah.
As time goes on. There's a lot of death that happens later in that show. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Not like the kid-friendly death. There is some, like, oh.
Yeah, I definitely
Okay.
wanted to talk to you about that because there are moments in that show when I was like, huh, this is a kid's movie. And didn't I have a conversation with Dev last week about how kids' films can't be violent?
Hey, I warned you that show gets like grows up
Hmm.
as it goes on. I told you. Especially, it grows up essentially when Maul shows up. Is when the show's like, hey, time to put on the big boy pants.
Makes sense.
This is where we are.
They needed an
I mean-
evil that wasn't just under the surface.
Well, I mean, Savage Press kind of shows up and just starts wrecking shit. When he kills the freaking like with the Tridarian King scene, holy shit!
Like, I do like the part with in the chamber console when they chop off all the heads all at once. When they
Oh god!
it's like, oh, so are you
It's-
gonna join us now?
Right? God, that show gets violent. That's one thing Rebels never quite got. Speaking from experience, I won't spoil it.
No worries.
But like, there's some stuff that it doesn't quite get there. It has its good moments, in my opinion. It doesn't. It's never gonna compare to Clone Wars, but I don't think it should be compared to Clone Wars, but it shouldn't be directly. If that makes sense, because it's a different show. It's a different story. That isn't the Clone Wars. It does have some carryovers from it, which I appreciate because it does make these important people who would be important during that time are still there. So it's kind of cool, and the end of it is actually a really nice Star Warsy thing, and it sets up for the rumors that are floating around Mando.
Yeah.
So
Like,
it's good.
even itself, just what I watched today, the first 2 episodes of Rebels. So, the first story arc was the first 2 episodes of him getting introduced to the Rebels. And I could already tell just by watching those 2 episodes that it's a lot more kid-friendly.
Yes, this was Disney era takeover
Yeah.
show.
And it sucks because going from season 7 and then jumping into Rebels,
Oh yeah, no, that's a
yeah, it's a big dive. Especially the one thing that I liked the most, but also kind of put me off, was the updated graphics. The way that they changed like the textures and the atmosphere and the way that the colors worked with the skin, and even the way that the characters themselves just moved in between season 6 and season 7 of Clone Wars was freaking amazing.
Oh my god, season 7 they went from the Netflix budget to the Disney budget. Like, that's the thing, because season 6 was Netflix's season. And Netflix took it to a different grade than what season 5 was.
Yeah, I definitely like.
And then Disney came along and went, hold my beer, bitch.
Hold on 1 second. Like,
especially that last episode, there's that scene where Maul's in that freaking ship and the smoke and sparks fall off of him. And you see that, like, that is some, like, fine detail, and it's so good.
the one question I do have though to you is, it bugged me that at times this looked pretty Fortnite-ish. Like, I feel like they made this using the Unreal Engine.
I think that's what they've been using a lot.
Yeah.
For this kind of stuff. That's what Disney, I think, has been using, right?
Yeah, that's what they used as the backgrounds in The Mandalorian, is they used Unreal Engine. So, part of me
Which,
was...
that I haven't had the chance to start watching that documentary yet.
It's nice. I watched it. It was pretty good.
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Behind the scenes stuff is really cool, man.
Oh, dude, I saw how they did, like, the scenes where it's, like, it's all on a set, where it's, like, the thing is, like, a moving, like, camera, like, a moving background around them, which is fucking awesome.
Next generation green screens, essentially, but you can actually interact. You can change the
Right?
lighting and how it actually shows on the people. So, oh, man,
Right?
that's great.
No, that's so good. That needs to be how they do green screening from now on. Like, honestly, because like that was the thing. Like, I appreciated about that show was just like, among other things, it was like, wow, this feels real.
Absolutely. Even in the weird, like, random places, like every single place felt lived in. It felt real, and it was awesome.
Yeah. Even the deserted places felt real, which is impressive.
And,
But no, like, yeah, as you were saying, like, no, but I think it adds to it because, like, Unreal is kind of one of the best engines to do that kind of stuff with.
like, I only really noticed it when we got the close-ups that were about chest and up, because I've seen quite a few Fortnite trailers where the characters do this thing where, like, they move their head a certain way, and I was like, I feel like I've seen that every single time Ahsoka turns.
I mean, yeah, they probably use. I mean, like if if the engine is proficient with something. Can we
But
talk about Ahsoka though?
yeah,
Going from being when she came out, she was said to be the worst thing. I think I said like, why the fuck does Anakin have a Padawan? That doesn't make any sense. I know I said that at one point. I didn't hate on her because I just didn't understand why the show existed.
mm-hmm.
And then I started watching. I'm like, oh, all right, I'm here for this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching a children's show that is slowly becoming very much more adult. With fucking Maul. But like, I like how she went from being the worst thing since the prequels to being the best thing, or the worst thing since Jar Jar is what some people would say, to now being the best thing since No, I Am Your Father. And I could agree with that because she is honestly like probably one of the best things to come from the past the prequel era of Star Wars.
Like when I think about Ahsoka, when I first met her, I didn't like her, of course, like everybody else. But I feel like that's the point of every time you get introduced to a young character, they are not to be liked. So that's the whole point.
No,
Because they will grow into a character that you like, and that's
they'll learn.
Yeah, exactly. They'll grow.
Well, and that's the other thing that helps with Anakin with this show because Anakin was not likable in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
But this show, Clone Wars makes Anakin likable.
But at the same time, the timeline that we get with Clone Wars kind of makes the timeline that we get in the movies not add up as well. Like it all seems to happen pretty quickly in the grand scheme of things. Like in Clone Wars, we get to see Anakin have his temptations and his flirtations with the dark side, but he never really follows through with it until suddenly in Episode 3, or technically Season 7 of Clone Wars, suddenly like a switch flips, and
Well, if you'll notice, a lot of times when he's tempted by the dark side through Clone Wars, guess who's involved?
it's
Who is the one person who's involved when in almost every time that he goes just even a little bit dark side?
is it Ahsoka?
No, it's Padme.
Yeah.
They set that up throughout Clone Wars that he will fall to the dark side for Padme. Like that's what they set up throughout the Clone Wars, which I appreciate. But the other thing I appreciate is this also isn't like his story or Obi-Wan's story. This is Ahsoka's story. Ahsoka and Rex's story.
The last season is for sure.
I would say the entire show is mostly their story.
I don't
Like they may not be the main character of each season, but this is their show.
like. I both agree with you and don't agree with you at the same time, because I feel like this is more just a general Star Wars story where it's filling the
Well, that's fair.
timeline, and then we just get to pop in with different characters at different certain points in time. Like we
Yeah,
we
but I
even
would
have
say-
an entire arc that's Qui-Gon and and fucking
And Yoda?
yeah.
Dude, I still appreciate that Liam Neeson came back to do that though. That was a cool little arc, and it actually talked about one of the biggest lore things out there, the wisps.
Mhm.
Like
The will of the
that is
Wisps?
that is one of the things that like has never been talked about in the movies. And the show finally went, hey, by the way, this exists. And it's finally like, oh my god, finally. And then we also get like the father, the brother, and the sister, which is arguably the best arc of the show, almost arguably, or at least top 3.
Like for me, I would say it's up there. My other favorite one is Ahsoka being framed in the end of
Oh,
season
dude,
5.
that's such a good season. Or that's like good part, and that end part where you just when she walks away, man.
Like
Um,
I would
yeah.
definitely say the three Force users, the big 3, and Ahsoka's betrayal, and then definitely season 7 so far are my 3 favorite moments of that series as a whole. Don't get me wrong, there are definitely other moments in the show that I like learning about 99.
Oh god, anything Domino Squad, honestly.
And then later on with the Bad Bunch or the Bad Batch. Oh,
good. Oh,
I'm here, kind of. Hang on 1 second.
Uh-oh. Is it testing?
Hold
Can
on.
you hear me?
Stop talking for a second. Hold up. Okay, try talking.
Hello.
All right.
All right. No, anything bad, like the Bad Batch is awesome, and I will say it again. I heard someone else bring it up, and I'm like, yes, do it. Make a game about the Bad Batch. That would be awesome. Like a story. I would be willing to go back to the Clone Wars for that.
I mean, I don't know, honestly. Because part of the story about Star Wars, part of the things that make Star Wars great, is often dealing with loss and dealing with the difficulty of either having lost something very recent or having to lose somebody in that moment. And the only thing that I could think of that could work for the Bad Batch is maybe just before Order 66, where they too, because they're part of the Bad Batch, can't be turned on a Jedi because they're defective, and then they are being shot at by the other clones.
Oh, that'd be interesting. I hadn't even thought about that.
Like that's the only thing I could think of when it
Well,
comes
the
to
other
them.
thing I could think of is being a story about, like, being an episodic thing where, like, let's say, I could see it being like a Spec Ops
Okay.
as well. Like you and I would definitely prefer it probably being co-op. It's 4 of them, so it's kind of perfect for co-op. And having that set up as like a co-op first-person shooter where like it puts you into a scenario and you have to figure out how to get through it. Kind of like Ghost Recon.
I almost feel like, I hate to say it, I feel like this would almost be better as like a zombie survival mode.
Right? But with droids that shoot at you.
Droids that evolve and become different classes of droids as you get further on. Each one of the characters has a different ability, like super strength or the visor or something. And then
I think that'd be fun.
I could kind of see it, but then at the same time, you don't like Nazi zombies, so
I would do it for Star Wars for Bad Batch. Because damn, that would be awesome. Yeah, no, like I just there's so much about Star Wars I love, but there's so much about Star Wars I also hate, though.
There's some interesting parts to Star Wars. Like, I honestly, even though I haven't seen this part yet, I think the thing I hate the most is time travel.
It's not that bad, trust me.
I know it's not that bad, but in the grand scheme, there's always, as soon as any franchise introduces time travel, that's a problem. Like,
well, when you get there, I'd like to revisit this conversation because the way they do it, I think works. That it's not going to be something that like is used. You know what I mean? And abused, because it's the way it's set up and used is that like thing. Well, that and it's fixed, if that makes sense. Like things that happen are going to happen regardless. Is how I would put it.
I mean,
so if someone, like essentially, if it's used, it was meant to be used because I think it's the Force. If that makes sense.
I guess so. Like, when you think about, I know what happens in the scene because Darth Vader and Ahsoka start fighting.
Yeah.
The door closes, and then that's the last that we hear from her until he goes back in time and then pulls her through, and it's like,
and then she leaves, and that's when, like, at the end of that episode, you see her like walk out. And that's why she disappears, because she knows that she's, like, because their conversation is like, okay, so I haven't really been around since this. I can't reappear after this until this is done. Because if I do, I'm messing with shit that I shouldn't mess with.
Yeah, I'm messing with the Force.
Yeah, which I think works in the sense that, like, since the Force and the Wisps are kind of the guiding force, literally, of this universe, I think it works in the sense that, like, it can only ever really happen if it needs to happen.
Okay.
So I think that's how that works. Because, like, there's a scene where they have the chance to save someone that we know dies, and Ahsoka's like, we can't. This is his end.
Oh no, yeah,
where this
I
happens.
know who you're talking about. he sacrificed himself for a specific reason, so bringing him back would ruin the purpose of his sacrifice.
And if we do that, we're messing with things beyond our control at that point. We don't know what would happen. Things could unravel. Which could be a cool story if you start to unravel it and then you have to fix it.
By killing him again!
Well, not that. But like, well, actually, it could be like, I don't know if you ever watched this weird throwback. I don't know if in elementary school or anything like that, on MLK Day, if you watched, or MLK like week, whatever, that movie where this kid and his friends are like time traveling to different eras with where MLK is growing up. Dude, it's a trip. And it gets dark as fuck for a kid's show movie thing. Educational thing. Because look at this bully who's like racially bullying.
Okay.
But he learns not to. But there's a certain point where they go back, and because the lead character, who's African American, sees that he's like, but MLK gets shot. I'm gonna save him, and pulls him out of the timeline. Everyone disappears except for those two. And they go back to his time with MLK, and he's like, "Hey, I saved you." That's all. But the world's like fucked. Like segregation, and everything is still rampant and stuff like that. And what his friend who's Latina, she's like cleaning and only speaks Spanish, stuff like that. The two white guys from it, the bully and the friend, are like, "Oh, fucking whatever," kind of thing, racist shit. And I'm like, "This is for kids." And then like Martin Luther he turns to him and he's like, I have to go. And so he walks through the time portal to the day he gets shot. And you hear the shot, and it's like, oh shit, MLK is dead. Okay, cool. But that's how I feel like if you fuck with time travel in Star Wars, that's how it would have to, to repair things and be like, yeah, no, we can't fuck with this.
Yeah.
See what's happening.
The way I see it being almost is, I can't remember the name of the game specifically, but it was like The Life of Emily or My Neighbor Emily or something like that, where you and your friend Emily are just trying to get through the day, and you're going through your lives, and she makes a decision, and then you have to decide to use your powers because you are a supernatural being who can kind of go back in time to short bursts.
Oh, that's Life is Strange.
Yes,
right?
Life is Strange. That's it. Yeah, and every time you could save her life and get the story to progress further and further, but every time you do, the situation just gets worse and worse and worse until literally you have to kill her or you
until the last episode where it's like, hey, you have to go back there and I have to die.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, no.
That's how I feel like this would work. Honestly.
Yeah, that's how it would have to happen in Star Wars since they've introduced it. That's the only way, because the timeline is. Oh my god. That's how Legends exists.
So who didn't die in Legends that died in this canon?
Or when did it split? Like, what happened? Like, oh my god, I figured it out.
And then when does it reconnect? Why does it reconnect?
But does it ever, like, what happened? Like, maybe the timeline got... Maybe, That actually would make sense. That could be... Disney could have literally introduced that to be like, so yeah, no, Legends exists in this timeline, and our version exists in this timeline. And
so,
it's like, they would coexist.
Theoretically,
holy shit!
Do you think if Ahsoka wasn't pulled back in time, we'd still be in the Legends timeline? Or... Just kidding.
I don't even know. Because Ezra and Rebels happened in the current timeline. It wasn't introduced during that timeline. Because during that time, we would have gotten Starkiller and the Force Unleashed games in between those as the start of the rebellion.
It's true.
So Rogue One wouldn't have happened that way. It would have been a different story.
You blew your own mind.
I did. What the fuck?
We broke the encrypted Star Wars engram.
Dude, if Disney is literally doing it that way, kudos to them, because that's actually pretty fun. That's some 3D chess right there.
I want to learn how to play that, by the way.
Oh, dude, that'd be awesome. No, that's brilliant. Honestly. Holy shit. All right, Disney, if that's what you're doing, like, well played. Well played. Now that would make sense, actually, thinking about it. Like, It's like they like since Marvel's been doing that would honestly explain the legends and the not legends
Hmm. It
timelines.
could work, yeah. It give them an excuse to explain it, but I don't want an excuse to explain it.
No, I agree with that. I like this headcanon that I have now. Um,
Like,
I mean, if it like how I would put it, if it's like a comic,
mhm.
I'd be fine with it being a comic because then it doesn't impact everything. I don't want it to be in a show or a movie, if that makes sense.
Well, I guess that'd be better, but still in the same way. Like, some of the best things about Star Wars is the unexplained portions. Like, Han Solo was amazing until we got Solo.
Well,
and,
all of that was explained in other mediums.
Also
That's
true.
how I'll put it.
and it was
Like
explained
again,
better in that instance.
well, yeah, and it left some to the imagination. Is the other thing I'll put. Because the other thing about Solo is, and I saw the meme about it, all the important things that happened to me happened within a week.
Yeah, within 1 week.
Like,
And he rides off of that until his 40s, when he becomes a general.
until his fucking 70s in in Force Awakens.
Yeah. It's like...
Sorry, bud, but like
Yeah, how
it's
old is
not that
Han
impressive.
in the original trilogy? Like, is he 20s
good
or is he
question.
40s? Is he young? Is he old?
How old is Han in A New Hope? 29.
29. Okay. So, not young, not old. When I
In the
watched
Solo
it,
movie, for 10 years he rode that, by the way, because he's supposed to be 19 years old in Solo, which takes place 10 years before A New Hope.
Okay. So yeah, for 10 years, he's like, I did the Kessel Run under 12 parsecs.
You know that's distance, not time, right? Yeah, I know. We've had to have a huge explanation and create an entire movie about it. Because why not? Sorry.
Though, I'll be honest, my favorite thing, like, since we're jumping between the different movies and stuff, I genuinely love when these stuff tie in with each other. When, like, for instance, the fact that season 7, the last 4 episodes, directly tie in with the stuff happening in episode 3.
Right?
Like, that is freaking awesome. I love that kind of stuff.
That was amazing. Like, because it's directly tied in. Like as direct as it could have gotten, and I'm like, holy shit. I didn't like. I knew it would happen during that time, but I didn't expect them to like tie it that much to it.
Mm-hmm. And I love that other franchises. I would love to see more of that kind of stuff too. Like, oddly enough, I would love to see, say, while they're having some battle somewhere else, I would love to see another battle from some other perspective, or like, I don't know how to explain it otherwise than just I want to see other parts of the galaxy other than just the Skywalkers and the people related to them. And
No, that's fair. Yeah, no, I'm down with that because that's what like again, Mando is that.
yeah, exactly. The Mandalorian is that. It's the Star Wars universe that has all the charm of that, but the Star Wars universe, but none of the people are overpowered Jedi who can get through every situation.
Until maybe next season.
Yeah. So,
Which I'm fine with season 2 introducing Jedi.
yeah.
Because they've set up that like, hey, this is the universe, this is what we're doing, and honestly, I like. Can we talk about the rumors floating around?
About Ahsoka being in it.
Yes. If that's the case, I would love to get the opportunity to maybe try out for the role of Ezra if he shows up, because he's gonna be like at that point 20 something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's 10 years. It's roughly 10 years later, I think, or so. Because when did Rebels take place? Give me timeline. I need an actual timeline. See, this is the hard part.
The
I need, like, a
Mandalorian
definitive time.
takes place 5 years after the Battle of Endor.
Yes.
Okay. So that means Rebels.
I think Rebels takes place like 5 years before Rogue A New Hope. So like about 10-ish years. And I think Ezra is like 16-ish.
Yeah, this says here that it's just between episode 3 and 4. So, for, if he's, however, if he's
He
15
was
years
14.
old, 14, if he was 14 years old, and then 9 years after the Battle of Yavin is when, yeah, so you maybe could fit the role, but you'll have to work on your acting a little bit, and you'll have to dye your hair blue.
I would dye my hair blue in a second. For that chance, hell yeah, dude. I would play Ezra, like an adult Ezra. Hell yeah, dude.
I call live action Jabba. Wait.
No, I'm that age, and maybe he's been in disguise because he doesn't want to reveal himself as a Jedi, but he knows that things like because he doesn't want, he's just waiting for the moment to be able to come back and stuff like that.
Yeah, my big question is then, like, ultimately with the Mandalorian, because the big question I always have with every franchise is timelines. Like the big thing that I bug my dad about while watching Star Trek is like, when does this take place in comparison to this series, and when does this take place in comparison to blah 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 blah. So. Like we finally got to see the end of the Clone Wars supposedly with this last season. We get to see the build up between 6 and 7 with the Mandalorian. All the while, it's still confusing.
Well, see, I don't think this is the build up. I don't think his show is the build up between.
Probably not.
You wanna know where I think this might go? What's the region that would be the most Wild West in all of Star Wars?
Mandalore?
No. I mean, it'll probably go to Mandalore.
Naboo?
But
Tatooine?
No. I mean, yes, but no. the outer rim.
Mm-hmm.
Past the outer rim. The unknown space.
So we're gonna
Which is where Thrawn apparently comes from, where Snoke comes from, apparently, but doesn't. It's complicated. Let's not talk about that.
I was about to say,
down that rabbit hole.
Technically, Exegol is beyond the outer rim, then, but we still know.
But no, because Sidious was invested into discovering stuff out there. That's the whole Battle of Jakku. There was a base that was sending people out past the outer rim.
Yeah, because he felt a greater evil than even he himself.
Yes. Well, hear me out. Maybe that's where Yoda's come from. Not that evil, but from the outer reaches.
Maybe. I mean, we've only seen
because
3
Thrawn
of them.
came from there.
Mm-hmm. And we've only seen one Thrawn. We ourselves. And the funny thing is, Thrawn himself isn't even a super part of his civilization. He's just the bottom, if not the most average of his civilization.
I'm pretty sure he was cast out.
Yeah. So.
But he's he's super fucking tactile. When you get to him, holy shit. I hate, but I love him. He's not as good as the book version, I will say that. Mm-hmm. But they do a pretty good job.
I did find it interesting to see his fangs and things in the first episode of Rebels. Interesting character design for sure.
Blue and everything.
Yeah.
Blue with red eyes. Yeah,
blue with the red eyes, and then just only the top teeth being all sharp and the bottom being straight and normal.
Wait, what? No, that's not. He doesn't have fangs.
That's how it's introduced in the first episode. Unless that's not who Thrawn that's being talked to. I know he's then talked to again at the end of the second episode via hologram. But...
You actually have fangs? Well, I'm just pulling it out.
Yeah, look at Star Wars Rebels, episode 1. The first 2 minutes.
Alright, I'll pull that up real quick. Okay, let me get there. Let me go to Disney Plus. Might as well just have this on freaking standby right now. Star Wars.
I could probably do
Rebels, episode 1. You said first 2 minutes?
Yeah, it's the first couple of minutes in the movie, or in the episodes. Let's see. Rebels, Resistance. That's another show.
That's not the actual episode. Those are the prologues? What?
Oh, music. Stop. Okay, let's see.
Oh, those are Rebels shorts. Whoops, my bad.
Oop. Went too
That's
far.
not what I was looking for.
Okay.
I was just looking for No, go to the thing I want.
Am
Disney.
I on stream? Am I on the wide screen with the view?
Yes.
Okay. So, put on some sound.
Master's command,
And then-
so it will be done.
So, oop, too far.
Oh, that's not Thrawn. That's not
Okay.
Thrawn.
This is
That's
the
an
first.
Inquisitor.
Okay, but then at the next episode, we get to see him again. Then,
Yeah, that's the Inquisitor.
yeah, at the end of the next episode, we see him again in the hologram projected by the Yeah.
Agent Callus.
by Agent
Well
Callus.
Yeah, that's I think first brother, if I remember correctly. He's one of like the top Inquisitors.
Okay,
Thrawn. I'll show you him real quick. I'll
but I
send you
do
the
know what
image.
he looks like because he's also on the very front of the, or he was, he was on the front graphic here. Ah,
Nope. Refresh. Copy. Paste. Thrawn.
I don't have it set up the way you do. I still can't see the stuff that you sent me.
How do you want me to say? I'll
There
send
we
it to you
go.
real
I
quick.
hope. I just have to minimize the screen. There we go. There's Thrawn. Red eyes, blue skin. Guy who proved himself to be invaluable to the Empire, even though he's not a human.
Yeah. But he's like the one of them that came through.
Hmm.
And he actually has a book where, in the book Thrawn, him and Anakin work together.
I do remember reading about that or hearing about that. I listened to a what's it called? I have to hit the right buttons here. Oh, I ended up listening to a podcast called the New Canon Book Club, and they talked about Thrawn and a lot of the like books and things that were released when Disney was in charge. Some of it's interesting, like the Lost Sith book that you have.
Yeah, or Aftermath.
Aftermath, yes.
That's the other one I haven't gotten that I really want. I will say Bloodlines is kind of boring.
I was about to say, there's one of the books that they were talking about. It was either the second Aftermath book, or it was Bloodlines, where it was just different stories from different characters from their perspective. And it was
Oh, that's a different book entirely.
okay, yeah. And it was just the most pointless book ever because
It's not pointless because it does explain some stuff. Like, there's a scene in it where Obi-Wan, like, it's when Luke runs to go save Uncle Owen in that Peru, fails. And during that time, when Obi-Wan's there, Qui-Gon and him have a conversation, and it's about how, like, Obi-Wan's like, I failed you, I'm sorry. And Qui-Gon's like, no. I'm the one who failed you. I shouldn't have made you train, Anakin. That was arrogance on my part.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
But then
You should have
there
gone to someone else.
then there are other stories like random Imperial General's log where he discusses his day and somehow ends up being framed for something, but it doesn't matter because what he's framed for isn't really a story arc that we hear about in the Star Wars storyline at all. It's just, yes, I'm an Imperial officer. Oh no, I'm dead. And that was it. But the entire time he was like, for the Empire.
And then there's another one where it's about Luke and his just crazy, like, legends. Like, the story's like, I heard once that he pulled a Star Destroyer out of orbit.
Or wasn't
Kinda
there
stuff.
also a story that was like Han has another girlfriend, one that he almost married, but we never got to learn about her?
Legends.
Okay, yeah.
But no, like, I think that book's pretty cool because it is. I think it's cool, but it's not necessarily needed. It's just kind of fun little bits, in my opinion. It's not a necessary thing, but it's kind of just little lore bits, in my opinion. God, there's so much to unpack in Star Wars.
Hell, we haven't even talked about
The actual movies.
yeah, the actual movies, or we could just talk about Cal Kestis and the you know, God, I can't remember any of the names of any of the Star Wars right now. The video game.
What?
Fallen Order.
Oh. Yes.
Hell, we could
Fallen
talk about
Order.
Fallen Order. We could talk about KOTOR. We could talk.
I still haven't finished Fallen Order yet.
I know.
I'm sorry. I just haven't gotten to it. Okay. My one problem with that game is the fact that it is a lot of backtracking.
At times, yeah. Like, part of me wishes if you finish the story, um, it would just end your storyline on the planet and just take you back to your ship. Where
Or
it's
give
like,
you the option to fast travel back.
yeah, where most of the time it's like, all right, I've done the one quest I was here for that took me all the way to the other side of the planet. Oh, I have to walk back now? All right, fine.
But I can use an alternate path back.
Yeah.
Cool. But I intersect with places I've already been. And I have no idea where this new path is going to go. The amount of times I've gotten lost in that game because I'm like, oh, this is a new path. I'd probably have to follow this back, right? And just ended up being like, where the fuck am I? What? I thought I knew this planet. What the fuck is this? Where is this? And then all of a sudden I go through a wall and I'm like, oh. Okay. Why did this take me an extra 30 minutes to get here?
Though, we'll be honest, though, one thing I do like about specifically the Fallen Order, now, especially now that I've seen Clone Wars again, was getting to see the trial chamber area where they get their crystals, both in Fallen Order and in the Clone Wars.
Dude, I love that.
Mm-hmm. Like, getting to see it...
Do you know who played the droid for that small arc?
I do not.
David Tennant.
Nice. I knew
Right?
it sounded familiar. But yeah, I just
Yeah.
love how you could see the world, that place specifically, when it's at its prime, when it's at its holiest. And then you get to see it when it's all run down and ragged later on. And that's just so much that I love about Star Wars itself, too, is getting to see the world develop. That's why I loved Lord of the Rings. Just in the 3 movies, you got to see so much development between the places, the characters, and Isengard itself, honestly, if you wanted to think about it. But
Yeah, agreed. Well, that's what I love about, like... See, that's the one thing that is one of the moments in... Well, we should talk about the movie.
yeah. You know, I
Revenge of the Sith.
I intentionally didn't put him on this graphic because his last appearance.
That's fair. Given how that went. During that movie has one of the first outside of movie or inside movie lore moments is the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Mhm.
Is one of the first times the world's lore is built upon. It's still in current canon. I don't know if it's confirmed or not whether or not Plagueis is actually his master or not, or if it's actually a story that he heard from his master.
Mhm.
If you know, let me know. I know they haven't gone into that yet, as far as I know.
Mhm.
I know in old canon it was confirmed that he was a moon,
Mhm.
which in episode 2 the moons are the banking clan people with the big heads.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
was what he was.
Okay.
Was what
I was
Plagueis
about to say. I thought you meant like a physical moon, and I was like, no, that's Darth
they're
Bane.
called moon.
Darth Bane.
Darth Bane
became
isn't
the
a moon.
His.
He's an entity that possesses people. Which, God, the story of Darth Bane's possessing is a whole nother story.
Dude, like, it honestly has me interested, though, because... So, after watching episode 9, I have been boiling this, like... I guess the easiest way to put it is a Star Wars fan fiction. Because there's every once in a while, there was a moment in there that, like, inspired me to be like, what if this whole moment happened, where this happened, and where this happened? Like, the training scene with Leia and Luke in the storm with the helmets on. I would love to see that, but like one of the characters holding a red lightsaber and the other one holding whatever color they want, and like that'd be interesting.
Well, you know what would have been cool is the twins, Jason and Jaina, during their fight.
Sure, let me continue though. I would love to
Sorry.
see more. No worries. They also had moments where the fight between Rey and Ben, where steam was flying and you hear the screeching of melting metal and stuff like that. But I would love to see more effects like that, where imagine that they're fighting in an enclosed room where like a sprinkler system goes off. So as the rain's coming down, the room's just filling with more and more smoke to the point where all you can see is the glow of the sabers and you can't see the other person across from them. Like, that sounds pretty
that'd
cool.
be fucking cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing. Can we talk about some of during the force projection fight? Wow, the blocking on that fight sucks.
You mean
Because
the?
it breaks the 180 rule a lot. Is
Oh.
that blocking or what?
I think so. Yeah, the fight on Crate with Ben and Luke.
No, in Rise of Skywalker, the Force
Oh,
mind battle that they had.
when they're going between the two locations.
Holy shit.
It's
It's
hard
cool
to say.
in concept.
Yes, like it's hard to say because there is a rule usually in cinematography where you don't want to break which side you're looking at the person, but I feel like they kind of did okay with it because who was located on which side kind of dealt with who was talking and who was in charge
and that's
of the fight.
fine. But I'm more talking about like in the sense of there's no way to tell exactly where in what, like there's no spatial awareness, I guess.
Yeah.
Because at one moment, like that fight would have like gone through walls where Rey was.
Oh, it definitely went through walls where Kylo was at times, if you think about it. Like, he ends up in a hallway or an alleyway, and he was fighting in a plaza at one moment. It's like, how are these buildings not collapsing?
Hey, what up, Brad? Thank you for the biddies.
Hello!
How's it going?
100 biddies.
What up, fellas? How's it going, Brad? We're talking Star Wars today because Star Wars is amazing.
It's just Star Wars.
I've honestly just been listening to Empire soundtrack, by the way, during this entire time.
I would do that, but we've been getting hit with a lot of random copyright claims. Not strikes.
On what?
Just random songs or random things. Like, you'll do an excerpt.
During, like, Har Har podcasts?
Oh, sometimes during the Har Har podcast, sometimes during this. Like, you'll put
Well,
one
I
of
know
the songs
one of them was my fault.
and that'll work. Or, like, we'll watch a trailer and that trailer will be cut. Or last week, I took a song that was supposed to be public domain, but apparently somebody else did an arrangement on that song, and they claimed it for themselves, even though they weren't the composer I used. So, what the fuck else?
They can do that?
Apparently, yeah.
Oh,
It-
bullshit.
It's the same song title and it has the same song theme, but the version I took was written by a different person. So,
So you can counter that.
I just took it out of the song. I just took out the whole intro and I was like, fuck you.
Fair enough. No, I think that's kind of annoying. That like a whole different thing. YouTube freaking rules are tough, and that's also why I like being on Twitch a little bit better, because like it's a little bit easier to
Like, the only
Yeah.
problem is it's literally the song that was used was like called Sunset something, and it has themes similar to Scarborough Fair, and it's the original song was like Scarborough Fair, but then it was repurposed by one person, and then somebody else. Oh yeah, it's called Nomadic Sunset. That's what the song was called. And two different people took that theme and called the music the exact same thing, but I don't know. So technically, I could try to fight it, but it's like a technicality at that point, and I'm not sure YouTube would give it to me. They usually,
I say it's worth at least putting it. If you want, I can look into it.
but either way.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. No. Like so. Speaking of music, like John Williams is the man. Like, not to quote a fantastic fan song, that came out right before Revenge of the Sith came out. But I remember when that song became super popular amongst everyone.
Do you remember the talent show when me and my friends did that song?
Yep.
That was
Why it's so
good
scarred in my brain, I think.
good times.
God, that was fucking hilarious.
The
God,
worst-
you fucking nerds.
The worst part was we had choreography associated with it too, and we couldn't do most of it. Well, we did all of it, but we shouldn't have, because then you couldn't hear us because we got moved away from the mics and they wouldn't give us mics we could use while moving.
That's kind of lame.
Yeah, but either way.
Goddamn high school budgets.
Yeah.
I can't like. You know, it's just weird thinking that Star Wars for me has been my entire life. Not in the sense that like it's the only thing, but like it's always been a part of my life as far as I remember. Like the music, the movies, the shows.
The one thing I do have to say, like, speaking of the music, since you brought it up, is I was watching these cartoons, the Clone Wars and Rebels, and part of me wonders. Well, part of me, the first thing I thought instantly when I heard Rebels and I saw like the Tie Fighters screaming across the screen, I was like, I could imagine if the Star Wars that we had first, like the live action movie Star Wars, if they didn't have such iconic sound design, and like unique music, would these Clone Wars cartoons and stuff even stand a chance?
No,
Because, yeah,
no. The franchise itself would have fallen apart without the music and sound design. Like, we know what a blaster sounds like because of Star Wars.
and there's a difference too, just because of the colors between blasters and phasers. They're just different colored bolts apparently. One's red,
Yeah.
one's blue, and
Stunners. We know all of that. We know, but just sound-wise, we know what that is.
hell, like one
You,
of my
you will know what a TIE fighter is if you hear if you hear someone's text tone and it's you're like, oh shit, that's a TIE fighter.
yeah,
Like
one
that's
of
what it is.
one of the things too is like I love this, like the Force. When anyone uses the Force, there's like this deep bassy whoop, 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 whoop. And sometimes it's noticeable with things like, I'm just gonna reference Episode 9 again because it's the easiest one to reference, because it's freshest in everybody's mind. There's moments when
Unfortunately.
the lightsaber and Kylo and Rey's fight is going on, and they use the Force to block the beams, and all you can hear is the lightsaber trying to go against the Force. Or at the end of Episode 9 when she does the Force thing where I am all the Jedi, and she pulls the lightsaber from a distance, and you can hear it flying.
Uh-huh. Or Episode 3 when Obi-Wan and Anakin's duel, when they have the moment where they
Yeah.
like, no, God, the sound design is just it is Star Wars. Like, that's the thing. Like, you know what all those you know what those noises are because of Star Wars. You know what a speeder sounds like. Like, you know what an Imperial speeder sounds like. You know that's a speeder. It's got the startup noise and then the go. That's the noise, and you know it. And yeah, no, like the how they've made all those noises is just awesome. Like the behind this, because like the guys at Skywalker Sound are fucking nuts. Like the way they create noise is just, it's so interesting.
Like, the one thing that I really liked was one of the behind the scenes moments for Episode 9. They were talking about being inside the 30-year-old decrepit Death Star ruins. And they're like, all right, how do we make the sounds of the metal creaking and all that stuff? So what they actually did is they found an old run-down, like, shipping container building, where all of it's just a bunch of stacks of shipping containers put together, and they just stood inside of it and had people bang on, like, the outside walls and things and recorded all the different sounds that thing made. And then they just changed them.
Yeah. You know, one place I want to go is the Skywalker Ranch and go through and see all the props and stuff like that from that stuff.
You should come visit. They're apparently not very far. According to my dad, I'm within like an hour's drive.
Dude, even more reason for me to do a road trip from here for next TwitchCon. Right? I could hit Tillamook. I could hit the Tillamook Cheese Factory and Skywalker Sound or Skywalker Ranch. Holy shit, that'd be brilliant. Yo, Dragon with the 1 year.
Thanks for the sub.
Yeah, no, dude. Like, I figured out where my trip takes me now. I like the stop before the final stop, before probably like San Diego, right? Unless we stop somewhere else. Would we stop anywhere else on that trip? Because would you be willing to fly up and then go down that trip with me? How would we plan this? God, I still want to do a fucking road trip with someone.
Let's see.
Dude, the Tillamook factory, I'm glad someone else can attest to it. I feel like I'm the only person who's ever been there amongst people I know. The Tillamook cheese factory is amazing because you get ice cream, you get cheese, you get all the cool dairy products, and it's amazing. God, I've gone there twice growing up. I haven't gone as an adult, but I want to go again.
No. I just looked it up. It is an hour and 10 minutes away from here.
It's about an hour and 10 minutes away from me, too.
Well, not
It's in the middle of Oregon. It's like middle of the road Oregon. Like I'd have to go. You have to go off your path. If you let's say I was heading straight to you, I'd have to divert to go there to get to you, right?
Okay, so to get to the cheese factory, it's actually a 12-hour drive for me.
No, it's not.
So that's what it says here. In
What?
in Oregon, the cheese factory in
Yeah.
Oregon, yeah,
That sounds wrong.
because it says Tillamook Cheese Factory in Tillamook, Oregon, is 11 and a half hours.
That
Because
seems wrong to me. I don't know why.
it's on the far end of Oregon, and I'm barely Northern California. I'm more central, North Central. I'm just above San Francisco.
I don't need to walk there. Sorry.
Oh, wow.
Oh, right. It's on the coast. Right. So it's 6 hours from me.
I was about to
Yeah,
say.
never mind. That sounds more right. Never mind. But it's still worth it.
So let's say you live in the middle of Spokane and Seattle, which you like 3 hours in between both places. So this
I am 100% just dead center, Washington. Like it is. I am as center as it gets.
yeah.
Oh God, just there's so much. The Oh, what was I? Damn it, I don't know where I am anymore. No, if I had the plan last year to potentially do the road trip, but some stuff fell through.
Yeah, I remember you guys talking about that, road tripping to places and then ending up at TwitchCon, and oh well.
I don't know where the jerky's made. I'm pretty sure the jerky's made maybe at the same place. I'm not 100% sure. Though I know Orbito or Bretto jerky is in Seattle. So I could visit that.
Let's
Potentially.
see. The Tillamook Jerky Factory
I mean, guess East Coast. I'm hoping it's West Coast still.
is.
I don't even know if you could visit it. I know it's
Uh,
like the Tillamook
it's-
factory. The cheese factory.
It's basically the exact same distance. 11 and a half hours.
Is it in Oregon?
Yes.
Oh, well, fuck it. We can hit both in one day. Stock up on jerky for the rest of the road trip.
Jerky and cheese. We have it's a wine platter. Smoked meats and cheeses.
I will not be drinking wine while driving. See, I actually kind of like Old Trapper jerky. It's pretty good.
Yeah, 14 hours from you. Yeah, like quick side tangent. I remember when I came up here to visit my dad and my stepmom when they were getting married. When I was still in Kingman in high school, I think I was 17 at the time, and it was my first trip. Like it was my first major road trip, and it was 14 to 15 hours on the drive up, and then 16 hours on the way back because I got lost on the way back for about an hour. Oh god. That was fun times. But basically at the moment, going anywhere, the big complication is just how much it costs. Like, I don't know who it was who told me this. Since we're on this tangent, I'm going to stay on this tangent for now, and then we'll go back on to Star Wars. But somebody, I don't know who the hell it was like, yeah, going cross country or out of the country really isn't that expensive. All you have to do is buy the ticket, which is the most expensive part, and then the cost of living is basically the same as cost of living in the U.S. So you could just charge the same, like $20 for dinner and blah 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 for this and blah 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 for that. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't have $20 for dinner every single night. I don't have $18 for breakfast every single night. What are you talking about? It's the same price as living in the U.S. Ugh. I need to send you guys some of this and that. You're muted right now, Dev, just so you know.
Oh, sorry. I think you're roughly like 15 to 13 hour drive for me, roughly. If I remember correctly, we're about where you are.
I'd say pretty close.
Yeah. Dude, I would open a PO box for like a week just to get jerky and stuff like that. I'm not even kidding. I'm not fucking around. Jerky is life. I love fucking jerky, dude. Homemade jerky, like when people bring in like jerky that they've made, is always some of the best jerky you'll ever have.
If it's homemade in general, it's going to be some of the best of whatever you've had. Like
That's
homemade
also
root beer,
true.
homemade jerky.
I've never had homemade root beer.
I feel like our friend group would say otherwise, but I don't know.
No, I've never had homemade root beer.
All right.
I don't know when I would have if I had.
I know Shoop and Joe made it all the time. At least like
I've
once
never
or
had it
twice a
then.
year.
I never had it, as far as I know, then. Which is kind of upsetting that it would have been made by them. What the fuck? How did I...
I've had it before.
Oh, I would eat it on stream. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, I'd eat something new on stream. Hell yeah.
I did that. Dragon sent me cookies and I ate them on my stream. It was great.
God, I want banana bread now. Back to Star Wars. We're getting distracted. Yes, so I guess we should talk about the movies since we've literally talked about pretty much everything but the movies.
Yeah,
so far.
the one thing that we have to do is talk about Harrison Ford. Because this is
True.
Harrison Ford month, so we have to connect him in some way.
We have to talk about our boy Harrison Ford. Probably more our father, more than anything at this point. So, Harrison Ford. So, should we start with the original trilogy or end with the original trilogy and its importance?
Let's end with the original trilogy. Why not?
Okay. All right, then we will start with the first added trilogy.
Okay. Why not? Prequels.
Hello there.
The prequels. Oh boy. Oh boy. The prequels. What a grab bag. Because, like, there's a lot I appreciate about the prequels. I will fully admit that. And there's a part of me that wishes I was a prequel sympathizer. I'm not. I don't know if I could ever truly be a prequel sympathizer. But there's some stuff that's, like, in there is cool. But it also destroys a lot of the stuff that was cool. Like, the Jedi Order was cool in the original trilogy, and then we got to see them just sit around and do nothing. But the concept of that is part of why they were destroyed and why they did fail is kind of cool. Like, because you see, Emperor Palpatine's rise to power and stuff like that. But, it also brought us Jar Jar and sitting around and, like, yes, it's cool to see the CGI worlds in some way, but man, everything being CGI has aged those movies terribly.
Yeah, in a lot of aspects. Like, I still love one of my favorite behind the scenes moment is Obi-Wan from the prequels, or in the speeders going through. Yeah. You're like, yeah, we're just going through, driving, having a good old time. So we get because I know the prequels for me are interesting as well because they're honestly the moments that I've gotten to have with my extended family have been with the prequel movies. Like, I remember going to see episode 2 in theaters with my aunt. I also remember waking up after the movie being told, you slept through the good parts. And I was like, no, I was awake for an hour and a half.
Yeah. Still can't believe during our review of all of it that I slept through most of the first one and the third one and somehow stayed awake during the second one. I think because it's just the worst, my brain just had never a point where something exciting happened and then fell off. Because nothing exciting happens the first hour and a half of that movie.
No. But we get to learn about Sam.
And I swear to God, if you say the Jango Obi-Wan fight is exciting, you are an idiot. Sorry.
Like, Obi-Wan gets some exciting fights later. Like, honestly, oddly enough, the most exciting Obi-Wan fight, I think, is honestly his shortest fight ever, which would be him and Maul for the third time. Or the final time.
Oh. The final time?
whatever time. Yeah, like
The animated one?
Yes.
One of the animated ones? Oh, yeah, dude, that's the short one.
yeah.
You want to know why? Okay, they explain that. Okay, you want to know? So, Obi-Wan lore for a second. So, I can't remember the exact name of the pose, but
His fighting
pose
style?
that you see in his fighting style face form 6, which he's a master of, which is the defensive form, which essentially means that he can he fights until he defends until he sees an opening and he can finish the opponent.
Hmm.
And that's the only reason why during the fight with Anakin why he like makes it through that. But it's an endurance test. As long as he's able to keep defending, he's probably going to win that fight. That's how he beats everyone. But when he fights Maul later in Rebels, way down the line, he's learned to change his technique because he can no longer just defend.
Mhm.
He will lose because he's much older, he's aged, because he hasn't exactly like aged gracefully on Tatooine. So like what he's done now during that time is he's changed his style to be a quick offense, because a good defense is a quick offense
Hmm.
for him. Because he is a master of like he's a master of multiple styles. He was the best defender though.
Hmm. Didn't he master all 6, but preferred the 6 style the most, or something?
Yes, something like that. Funny enough, Death Battle just did a battle between.
I loved watching that today.
Oh god, it was great between Obi-Wan and Kakashi. I watched that yesterday, and I was like, oh yes.
I would discuss that, but we're on a different topic.
We're on a different topic. The big thing about it is that like he changes that style, like especially for that fight, because Maul is aggressive in his fight. So he knows like he knows that he cannot outlast in a fight right now, because he doesn't have that endurance that he used to have. So that's why he moves so quickly and finishes the fight like that.
Yeah, like I was a little upset when I saw them reference it in Death Battle, for instance. I was like, because I knew it happens, but I had not seen it, and I know when it happens in Rebels. And I was like, are you fucking with me? Because it's literally just...
Dude, but it's so graceful. It's scary graceful how quickly he does that. Yeah, exactly. And so that's why in that fight where their final duel, like he's pretty aggressive in that fight.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because he's aged, and so that's all that. But God, is he just such a like the battle in episode 3, the which people meme it a lot because there are a lot of funny moments.
The high ground.
Or so goddamn dumb, but I love it. But that fight, like, and people are like, man, it's the Force. Shit like that happens. Because again, they do have like slight predictive abilities.
Yeah, like
so a moment where no connection is happening could happen because they're theoretically moving to block and attack and block and attack based off of what the Force is kind of telling them to do.
that's one thing I don't like too about the Force is that it's the ultimate like the Force will help us. So it can explain everything away in these movies. It really can.
But like, so prequels, it's I have a love-hate with the prequels. I'll say that because there's a lot that I like. Because like if we didn't get the prequels, we wouldn't get the Clone Wars. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if we didn't have the Clone Wars, I wouldn't have some of my favorite characters from Star Wars, being Domino Squad, Rex, and with Ahsoka. Like Ahsoka is arguably one of my favorite things Star Wars related that has come out because of her arc. And then where you see her in Rebels is so cool because she's no longer Snips.
Yeah, she's learned.
She's a full blown like she's not a Jedi Master in that show because she did leave the Order.
Yeah.
But she is like a Force Guardian at that point, and it's so goddamn cool. And I honestly cannot wait to see if they put her in the show. I can't wait. I want to see her in the show. That'd be so cool to see Ahsoka finally come to live action.
Like, I'd both be interested in seeing it, but then I also kind of worry. Because, like, Ahsoka, one of the things I like about her is honestly just seeing how she's progressed and how she's learned and done all these things. But then, if we were to be seeing her now in The Mandalorian, so I'll say just 20 years later, maybe. Just randomly thrown out there a number. I don't know how many years it actually is between episode 3 and episode 7. But
that's actually pretty spot. No, 20 years would be the gap. I think it's 19 years between 3 and 1, or 3 and 4. So it'd be about, I think, like 25. No, it'd be like about 30 years between them.
Because in the grand scheme of things, season 7 ends with Ahsoka and episode 3. And she's still young, maybe teen at this point in time.
Yes.
Then we get to see her again at Rebels, which is after episode 3.
Yes.
And she's
about 5 years before Battle of Yavin.
Yeah, which she's what? Like, we consider her an adult in that series.
She's in her 20s.
Yeah. So if we go on another 3 movies, so another how many years, she'd
be in her 30s at the end of Battle of Endor.
How will she be at this point in time? Like,
about 40.
Yeah,
like she'd be I want to say early 40s roughly. Yeah, if you've got a link for a good definitive timeline, that'd be great. I would love that. I want to say she'd be about 40ish. Because hold on. How old is Ahsoka we'll just go in Rebels. There's 19 years, making her, so she was 14 years old in Revenge of the Sith. Takes place 5 years before A New Hope. She's 19. So at the time of A New Hope, she's like 31. So she'd be about like at the end of Battle of Endor, she's like 36-ish. Out of 5 years to that, she's gonna be like 41. Come time of Mando.
Okay.
I think this Galactic Civil War. I think the movies are like during. I think the original trilogy takes place over like 3 to 5 years, if I remember correctly. Quote me if I'm wrong. I'm fine with being wrong on that. But I think that's how it is.
Yeah. Like, I don't expect to see her as an old, decrepit woman by any means. But the thing I worry about is, like, what are we going to get to see from her? Like, what do we get to see later on when she's, old herself, old version of herself?
Well,
the last bit's not true. Is that what you're about to get to?
what?
The Rise of Skywalker part? Or did we hear her in
No,
the
that's true.
part? Okay.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, she's one of the voices.
Okay, that's right. I missed it.
Okay. That adds to the theory that is part of the story we would get for her. Is that during there we go, canon timeline. Cool. Rebellion 0 to 5 years. Yes. So episode 0 to 5 years. So I was right. 5 years. Damn, Dev. Look at me. Look at me. I still got it. This Battle of Endor is Where's Battle of Endor? Episode 5. 4 years. Okay. Yeah, about 4 years. Okay, Battle of Endor.
That's funny.
So Mando would be like 5 years after that. So during for that, I would say we would get wise Ahsoka, right? What I'm theorizing, all right? Time for the theory vault from Dev for a second. Is season 2 of Mando could go into, like, if they cross paths, we may see Sabine and Ahsoka.
I
Okay,
would say that's
together.
almost how it has to be if this is the correct timeline
Uh
for
huh.
her.
Which would be awesome because guess what? Sabine is a Mandalorian,
Hmm.
but she wasn't there during whatever calamity happened on Mandalore. So she wasn't there. She was defending uh what are the cats called? The planet. You just watched Rebels.
Oh,
Ezra's home. Fuck. I knew it in my
didn't
head.
pay attention to it. I'll be honest.
I know it in my head. Damn it, Dev.
Ezra Blizzard's homeworld.
Starts with an I.
Lothal.
Oh, damn it. I was close. Sort of.
You're close.
Lothal,
A
yes.
capital I and a lowercase L are pretty similar.
Yes, I think that's what my brain did for some reason. Lothal. Sabine stayed on Lothal to defend Lothal in honor of Ezra. And she leaves a mural there, and it's actually really awesome. And so Ahsoka picks her up and all that, and they go off to find Ezra, is what they say. Because Ezra does a really cool thing and all that. So, my theory, they cross paths with the Mando who's trying to figure out what to do with the child. And Ahsoka, knowing Yoda, would be like, where did you find this? Where did you find them? Kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she would, she would help figure out the story of them in the process of also probably finding Ezra, because the Force works in mysterious ways. How much you want to bet somehow, some way, those fucking thing, like Ezra's little thing, would take him to where those little fuckers live?
It's probably, yeah. Like,
This is what I've been theorizing for a while. Ever since it was like the rumor mill brought up that Ahsoka might show up in Mando season 2. My brain's been reeling with all this, being like, but what if? I feel like Charlie Day. I need that fucking thing back here, like this.
right there! This number!
Ezra's on the planet with the Yodas, and Thrawn is there, but Thrawn left and came back with more of his people, and this and that, and the First Order, and blah. Like, I feel like a madman, but it's like there's so many little connecting dots that line up to this potentially being what happens. And if I'm right, don't change it, because that would be awesome. And I don't want to, like, it's not me wanting to be self-congratulating. It's more that, like, that just seems like a cool concept, and I would love to see it. All right? And I would love to see, even if I'm not playing him, I would love to see an adult Ezra show up. Because, again, he's the one voice we don't hear during Rise of Skywalker who was a known Jedi.
But then the question is, if he's not in the lines of The Rise of Skywalker, he supposedly might be alive, he might not be. If that's the case...
What happened?
Yeah, how did Ahsoka die?
Hear me out.
Sure.
They used the legends of Darth Bane.
Okay.
Darth Bane possesses people.
Yes.
Ezra falls into the unknown regions.
Mm-hmm.
Say maybe he's not on that planet, but he went there and left. Let's say he goes to a Sith planet from out there. Finds a Sith tomb.
So you think your theory is he was taken over by Darth Bane and he's just somewhere in the galaxy as an evil Sith person?
Potentially.
I'm not sure I like that theory, but...
Well, the thing is, if that's what happens, let's say there's an internal conflict between him and Bane. Something. Well, not the projected theory for me. The other theory is that he's closed himself off from the Force after that, to hide himself from everything, because, like, again, he's in an unknown region. That, or we get the Yazgal. They're the... Hold on. Sorry, I gotta bust this out. New Order. God, where are they? Um, there's just this group of aliens that come in and just start kind of fucking shit up after the New Order is established in the new the New Republic and everything is set up. Um, God, I can't remember what they're called. Sorry, but it could be that these are the things that would come back, okay, like, or show up during that because they also possess people. Um, a really the dude who is that is theorized to show up in the Obi-Wan original series.
If that ever gets done.
If it ever gets done. Um, the Yazavan, sorry, the Yazavan Vogue, as they're called. They capture a Jedi. I can't remember his name, but he was a Tusken Raider. Who gets picked up by the Jedi Order. Becomes a Jedi, and he's pretty cool. But during the fall, he ends up back on Tatooine, and gets in a fight with Obi-Wan, and he starts to fall to the dark side. And then he goes to the Outer Reaches, gets possessed by the Yazavog, and becomes one of the baddest motherfuckers around on the dark side. If you've seen him, he's that Sith that wears that blue, blue bug-looking armor.
I haven't really seen him, but
it'd be a lot of digging to find him.
yeah, no worries.
But theoretically, let's say that's a connected through line. Let's say he shows up in Obi-Wan, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's in the Outer Regions, and during Mando season 3, when they go out there, that's the story.
Well, I mean, think about it. At some point, Obi-Wan has to leave Tatooine, correct?
Potentially. We don't know what that show's gonna do.
But the reason I bring that up is how the hell is he gonna go through the same training that Yoda goes through? If Yoda gets to become the Force Ghost afterwards, Yoda is supposed to train Obi-Wan into doing it, and then Obi-Wan.
Qui-Gon's gonna teach him. That's what they said.
Either way, he still has to leave Tatooine at some point to be taught how to become a Force Ghost.
I'm down for that. Yes, it is canon that she is a time traveler, technically. Sort of. She doesn't really leave the time she left. She goes back to almost exactly where she left.
Yeah, so...
Because you don't want to break time.
I was about to say, so tell me what happens exactly, because I don't really know.
Okay.
She's taken out of time, and then she decides to go back close to that same time period, and then just
She goes
disappears?
back to, moments later. Literally, she probably goes back the exact amount of time she's disappeared for. It's my theory. They don't exactly tell you the one for one, but she's seen on the planet when Vader's leaving the planet.
Okay.
When he's leaving through the door to leave. And then she goes into hiding. Because she understands she has to.
Yeah, so, and then she just goes into hiding until the timeline when she's pulled out of the past again? When does she stop being in hiding?
Battle of Endor.
Okay.
As far as I know. I don't think she's shown up before Battle of Endor at that point, because she shows up at the Battle of Endor and then goes and finds Sabine.
Okay. And that all happens in Rebels?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it would explain why she wasn't seen through all that, because she understands that she can't mess with things going forward. Because she also knows, because they overheard some stuff happening, mostly OG trilogy stuff. They didn't hear too much sequel trilogy stuff happening, and some prequel trilogy stuff happening, but mostly stuff that was about to happen. And if she knows that it's going to happen, she can edit that, which could break things. The Force works in mysterious ways. So that's why she went into hiding, and then she comes back afterwards. Because she can't really do any damage after that point.
Oh, that reminds me, speaking of the Force does things in mysterious ways. I heard a new fan theory that I actually liked. Once again, going back to episode 9. You know the moment when Finn and Ray and the whole group is going through the rocky sand pits as they're falling through.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I never told you." Yeah, that part. And it was later explained that at least JJ felt that Finn was going to say that he was force sensitive.
I'm force sensitive.
That doesn't make sense.
No.
The fan theory that I heard that makes more sense is that Finn knew that she was a Palpatine.
Maybe.
Because there's a moment in the movie where, like, specifically when they're on the coastline before she goes into the Death Star, where he says, where Poe and Finn are fighting, and Poe goes, "You have no idea what she's going through," or blah 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 blah, and there's a back and forth, and Finn ends the conversation saying, "I know what she's going through," and so does General Leia, and then he walks off, and then later on, Luke is like,
Oh.
"Yeah, Leia knew, and I knew that you were a Palpatine this whole time."
See, why do we gotta, like, contextually put that together? That should be something that's explained.
It makes more sense than
Yes.
He's force sensitive. He's force sensitive, yeah.
And honestly, I don't know. I don't know if it makes as much sense as, Ray, I love you!
I know.
God. Alright, we should move on to the sequel trilogy then, since we're here. What a fucking hot mess that was.
In a way, yes. In a way, no. Because, it introduces, once again, my favorite thing is visuals. And
True.
the later three movies have some pretty awesome visuals.
Some of the best visuals.
Specifically, my favorite moment is seeing the Battle of Crate, seeing Luke, not completely old.
Oh my god, one of the best moments
as
ever.
he's staring down the whole line of destroyers and, like, the sun. Like, that's one of my favorite moments in all of Star Wars.
And then
yeah.
it happened. I'm like, okay, all right, this is for real. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And the most subtle visual cue of him not leaving footprints. Literally, when it happened, I'm like, dude, he is so light on his feet. He's not even messing the salt. That's awesome. Because I thought that's what, and you know what? That could have been entirely what they were going for.
Mm-hmm. It could have been
if it wasn't a dupe. At the end, which is still one. I honestly, have we talked about our re-ranking because of the? Have we publicly re-ranked?
I don't know. I don't
our
remember.
Star Wars list.
I don't even remember the re-ranking conversation in all honesty, but
because I know we re-ranked so that Rise was lower and lower because of all the post.
That's true. They do keep editing things post again and again.
Which just makes it worse.
Do I
in my
still
opinion.
have the ranking set up on this one? Let's see. Standings? Nope.
Different list.
Not have that set up at the moment.
Because last we did it, we moved it down. So before, I think we had it above. I think we barely had it above Last Jedi because of some of the cool moments, but it was a mess. It is now below Solo. It's barely above the Clone Wars, in my opinion. In my opinion, it would be below the Clone Wars. And honestly, Clone Wars would be higher on the list just because of the legacy that is created. But we did judge it based off the movie solely. And so it's sitting in at 8 out of 12 for Rise of Skywalker. It's like our list was the bottom from 12 up is Attack of the Clones, Phantom Menace, Revenge of the Sith, Clone Wars, Rise, Solo, Last Jedi, Return of the Jedi, Force Awakens, Rogue One, A New Hope, Empire. I think it was a good list. Honestly, I would be willing to, at some point, if we were to ever re-edit these ever again in the future, I would probably put Return of the Jedi above Force Awakens because of how the last trilogy went. And it's part of a more solid trilogy. And we throw Rogue One, it's a quadology, in my opinion. Because Rogue One is the Rogue One is the best hype into the original trilogy. That is the hype man, right there. Rogue One, you watch Rogue One and you're like, all right, I'm watching the original trilogy. That is how that goes. Without a doubt. If it wasn't for the fact that go ahead.
I was about to say Rogue One is honestly one of my favorite little non-mainline movies. Like,
Yes.
Solo was fine. Rogue One was great, and especially because it had the Darth Vader moment when he gets to walk through the corridor at the end. Like,
that moment is. It was our honorable mention for lightsaber battles. The only reason it wasn't a lightsaber battle is because it was only Darth Vader just
because there was no
people.
lightsaber battle.
It was just Vader massacring people with a lightsaber. It was so cool. Oh man. God, what a great moment. Just God, there's so many. Just, I guess if we're talking about the new trilogy, we should talk about Solo and Rogue One with it because it's part of the Disney era of movies. Like, it's honestly hit or miss with them, in my opinion.
I wouldn't even say that. Like, to me, all of the Disney era movies are kind of just middle of the road movies, where they
Except
have
for Rogue One.
Yeah,
I would put Rogue One above the road.
yeah, where just overall they're fine. Where they have peaks where it's like really freaking good Star Wars, but the rest of the time it's just like subpar movie. It's not even normal, like, it's just subpar movie. It's not even subpar Star Wars. It's just
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. That's a good way of putting it because it is subpar. Just okay. What am I doing? Like each of them have like the most solid out of all of them is the Force Awakens, and that's because it's a rehash of A New Hope. It's built on a very solid foundation.
Like I remember seeing very recently there was I watched an interview with JJ talking about why it's so similar to New Hope, and he was talking about how the universe rhymes in all its different ways,
which is a thing Lucas talks about.
But it's almost like JJ took it to the blatant extreme where it's like it all rhymes to the point where it's exactly the same, but there's no depth in what's happening anymore.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I did also see someone talk about that it is this one guy's, I can't remember his philosophy, but he talks about how, like, I think it was Aristotle who talked about how history repeats himself, and then someone edited it to being like history doesn't just repeat itself, it almost just satires itself, because you have like Napoleon, right? Mm-hmm. But then you have his nephew or someone who's like so-and-so Bonaparte, who tries to do the same thing, but he's a shell of what he was. It shams itself. So it repeats itself, but the repeat is a sham. Like it tries to act like what it was, but it's not. Like with Julius Caesar, and then later emperors being like, yeah, I'm like Julius Caesar, but I have none of the things that make me Julius Caesar-ish. I just have the I am Julius Caesar things. Which I think that's kind of what this thing did with the trilogy. It does that, which doesn't work because it starts to break what was there, I guess. I don't know. It's like, if you look at it that way, it's like a philosophical way to look at it, but it's still not fun, in my opinion. Because, like, the low points of that, like, Rise's low point, or Force Awakens' low point is that it is a rehash of A New Hope. Last Jedi's low point is Canto Bight. That entire subplot. And then Last Jedi's low point is its next scene going, let's go. And then honestly, it could have been a cool moment, but it's a lame moment in hindsight. I am the Jedi. Because God, I wish we would have gotten the other version of that movie that was like shown, where like Rey has like that Luke episode 6 sort of attire. And it would have had like the actual Force Ghost show up and stuff like that. God, that would have been so fucking cool. Oh, if only.
Did you see Hishi's version? Hishi? How it should have ended?
Yes.
Yeah. When it's like, oh, these Force Ghosts can hold weapons? Well, here's a lightsaber, and here's a lightsaber, and here's a lightsaber, and now let's all fight Palpatine.
That would have been so fucking awesome. God, it would have been the first time. Like, imagine if they did that and we saw Kanan and Ahsoka as well, live action during that
That'd
moment.
be cool.
Spirits. That would have been so fucking awesome. Seeing them with Mace Windu, Qui-Gon Jinn, Yoda, Obi-Wan.
Like hell, I would have
Luke?
just preferred to see. I would have been happy if it was Qui-Gon, Luke, Obi-Wan, and maybe like Kanan and Ahsoka.
And Yoda.
Yeah, like it has to be some of the course. I don't care if Mace is there or not, because part of me feels like hearing Mace and honestly hearing Anakin at times breaks some of the rules of Star Wars as it is. Because weren't they not trained on how to become part of the living force?
Well, I think
Qui-Gon started it.
yes. Okay, I'll put it this way. Maybe that's what you can do if you don't get fully trained, is doing the voice.
Mhm.
Okay. And Anakin somehow figures it out at the end of.
Yeah, Anakin figures it out
because he's
because
the chosen one. He's an exception to the rule. Okay.
Yeah. So he becomes part of the living force because he's the chosen one. Obi-Wan
Yes.
gets trained. Yoda gets trained. Luke gets trained.
We can assume Ahsoka would get trained. Kanan probably not. I don't think Kanan would have had time.
Like, yeah, my
Um,
question is at what... Because the Wisps in the Clone Wars made it feel like the ability to stay part of the living force was a very blessed thing. It was... You know,
Okay, that's fair. You know who? Then I would say who it would be was, of course, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Yoda.
Mhm.
Ahsoka would have gotten trained on it,
probably.
because she's kind of become the embodiment of what gray
She's a
Jedi
gray
is.
Jedi for sure.
Yeah,
After watching this last season, she is by far the most neutral Jedi there is.
yes. And you would get Luke, and then maybe Leia, but that'd be a little tough to pull off. I don't know how we would feel about that.
Leia, I say no because she uses all of her might just to
Also,
save
no,
Ben.
and yeah, also Ben's not dead yet, so
Yeah.
yeah, not Leia. But those spirits, right? Imagine if the Knights of Ren were cool and had like lightsabers, and then we have our fights with like everyone, and like we get a rematch between Yoda and Palpatine. Oh my god, that could have been so much cooler.
There could have been some really cool moments for sure.
Oh god. Damn it! And if they didn't just try to be like, oh, Rise of Sky or Return of the Jedi didn't happen, I think that's the other problem. Or not Return. Last Jedi didn't happen.
Mhm.
I mean, they didn't necessarily. It didn't happen, but they tried to backtrack a lot too much on that, which kind of sucks. It's like the Rose Tico stuff. That pisses me off. That because it essentially gives the people who bullied her off the fucking internet, like,
Validation.
hey, we won.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hate that because that is just some racist and bigoted shit that they did to her. Yes, her character wasn't great, but guess what? Ahsoka wasn't great either. Guess what happened to Ahsoka? She developed and became great.
Mm-hmm. And plus, what she teaches Finn at the end of the movie is very valuable. It teaches him that it's not just good to kill people for the right thing.
It's cheesy and
Yeah.
stupid in some parts because Finn's arc also would have been closed at that point, and then he is useless in fucking Rise of the Skywalker. But like, and you know what? You could have had Rose replace Finn in that sense and be that embodiment after that. Be that, and like find some. And you know what? That would have been cool. Rose meeting with the other defective stormtroopers and talk about how like they're like, yeah,
How
we heard about
Finn
FN
inspired.
217, and she's like, Finn, yeah, I knew Finn.
Like, I
He
feel
saved
like
us all.
I feel,
Oh God, there's.
I don't think that way would have been. I feel like it would have been better if maybe it's like they meet the ones who leave, and then like Rose is part of the group. Finn's maybe passed away at this point in time because he did his suicide thing. So it's like,
Oh my God! Instead of Chewie getting captured, it's Finn, and he actually dies during that.
sure, yeah.
That would have been impactful.
And then we had, but I mean, it's already kind of impactful when you think about it. Like, if you really boil it down, sure, she
That
doesn't
scene is
kill
impactful.
Chewie,
Yes,
but it
okay,
teaches
that
her to
scene
be more
is
careful.
Yes. Okay, that scene is impactful, but there's no. I guess the problem is there's no lasting impact.
But like, what could have worked? Say, Finn's taken, he's captured, he's killed. Rose comes in and takes his place in the trio. Rose meets the defective group of the people, and when she finds out that they all defected, she can be like, I knew one who defected. His name was Finn, and he died to save us all. So
Maybe. Well, we can rewrite it. but like, because the thing is, like, Last Jedi. The thing about Last Jedi is that it does challenge what Star Wars is. Like, because I appreciate Rian Johnson for trying to do something new with Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it's a different take, and I do appreciate what he's done with Luke. Like, I know people hate it, like, oh, Luke would have never done that. Luke's always kind of given, like, in moments like that, has given to the dark side for a moment, right? Mm-hmm. But he always catches himself. And that's what you see there. You see him give in for a moment, and then realize what he's about to do, and catch himself. But it's a little too late, because then Kylo wakes up, and he's like, bitch, please!
I mean, it's hard to sleep through a... Oh, who turned on this nightlight?
But like, it's a very Luke moment because Luke has given into that before, and he saw what Kylo was thinking and potentially going to do because of Snoke. And he doesn't want that to happen because he sees what would happen to everyone he cares about.
Mm-hmm.
He sees what would happen to potentially Leia and everyone else. Like, we've seen what he did to his own father when he threatened his sister. Let's be real.
Yeah. Huh, I mean, where did that blue light come from?
And the other sad thing is we don't get fucking green lightsaber. Ugh. Also, Rey doesn't get her own lightsaber. There's so many things to fix that I would fix in that new trilogy that I would still try to keep it what it, like, I would still want it to be similar to what it was. Mm. Okay? Because there's a lot of great moments. I think with, like, Force Awakens, it is smart to be built on the foundation of something good. That is true Star Wars. And then, because that's the thing that I wanted from that is, like, okay, you've built the foundation off of a good foundation. Mm-hmm. Go somewhere with it. But they didn't have a direction that they were planning.
No.
Which is why, like, rumors are that David Finian is potentially being set up as the what's his name? Marvel guy.
Creative director, essentially?
Yes.
Head producer, whatever the role.
Yeah, that guy. I think his name has a K in it.
Chief executive.
Yeah, that guy.
It doesn't really matter. We get the point.
Yeah, that David Benioff is not David Benioff. Sorry, Dave Finian. So many fucking, like, creative directors and stuff like that. Is potentially going to be set up into that role, which would be awesome because he would be the kind of person to do it because let's be real, he's been Kevin Feige. Thank you. I figured it out.
Oh, you were trying to think of his name. Oh, I thought you were trying to think of his title. I was like, what?
No.
Oh, God.
Kevin Feige.
You thought, okay. I could have told you that.
They're setting up. Yeah, I know. I realized, but I didn't know how to say it. That they're setting up Dave Finian, the guy who created Rebels, Clone Wars, heavily working on the Mandalorian as well with Jon Favreau. Is being set up to potentially be the Kevin Feige of Star Wars.
Okay.
And if anyone could do it, it's him. Because, again, he's produced some of the best stuff that's related to Star Wars there is. With, A, Clone Wars, B, Rebels is pretty damn good. It's no Clone Wars, but it's pretty good for what it is. And he's heavily involved in Mandalorian, which is pretty damn good. So, like, if I was to Kevin Feige anyone for Star Wars, it'd be him, honestly. And apparently Taika Waititi's potentially going to be doing a movie.
Okay.
A Star Wars movie, which, could you imagine a Taika Waititi Star Wars movie?
I mean, that'd be interesting, but we were also supposed to get a Star Wars trilogy with the writers of Game of Thrones.
That fell through because they decided to do Netflix.
I get you, but still, like, there's all these different rumors of who's going to be working with Star Wars, and it's like, I honestly, like, I don't care who's working with Star Wars as long as they do something good with it. And
well, that's the thing. I would like to see. Taika Waititi is fantastic. I haven't had seen the chance to see Jojo Rabbit yet because I haven't bought it yet. But I've heard, like, from just what I've seen and heard about it, it's fantastic. Um, he saved Thor. Let's be real.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for Taika Waititi, let's be real, Thor probably would have been killed off.
The only problem, though, is he made the best Thor movie, but then a lot of what Thor learns is kind of thrown out the window of the next Avengers movie.
No, not entirely.
Not entirely, no. That's a discussion for a different
yeah, it's a
conversation.
different discussion for whenever Thor Love and Thunder comes out. That or Guardians and as Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 comes out. Well, see, potentially we might get that with the High Republic era.
The stuff that they're working on now, that's also what bugs me about all of this stuff. I don't want to learn about, like, we got to see the Jedi before they fell, when they're supposed to be at their finest, but we're going to see the Jedi when they're better Jedi during the High Republic era. But they're also, like, not as well versed in the universe, I guess. So, I like, it's interesting to me that we're getting new characters, a new situation, and we're probably, in all honesty, gonna see a young Palpatine in there at some point, because
I don't know if it's going that far back. Palpatine's not that old.
well,
but
either way, like, we'll probably
Know who
see
he's
hints of
thinking?
him in whatever, but still, either way, I don't want to learn about the past. I want to learn about the future. Show me after the Skywalkers and their big battles. Show me what happened to the universe after the big bad Palpatine was been defeated.
Well, I'll say this. That would be. I don't know what they would do. Honestly, would we get the Yavin, the Yuvan Vogue, or what? I don't know. Like, it's one of those things that, like, I don't know what they would do afterwards. One thing I would prefer, if I don't necessarily want movies from the High Republic era, I wouldn't mind shows from the High Republic era, if that makes sense.
Like, I'm more okay with video games and maybe TV shows. Definitely not a movie.
God, I would rather not have a movie from that era, because it's going to get ham-fisted with, oh, here's Yoda, because he's from this era, because it's only like 500 years before.
Yeah, it's like 500 years before, and Yoda's 900 at the point of Episode 3. So
Yeah.
he'll probably be a Jedi Knight who's just about to get on to become a master. Or
I would bet he would be a master, but not on the council.
Maybe.
Definitely not as wise as he is, but, like, very sure in the Force, I would say.
Maybe he won't walk with a cane.
Oh, that'd be interesting. As long as Frank Oz still voices him, though, I'd be fine with that. Because if you change that goddamn voice to anyone else, it's not Yoda. Hey, and maybe we'll get Yaddle.
The only other Yoda race person, the female Yoda, Yaddle.
Yeah, dude. But the problem is, it's also not during the Old Republic. I would have rather gone that far back if we were going back.
Yes.
Like, during the height of the Sith, height of the Jedi, height of the battle.
Mm-hmm. Like, that's the one thing I'm worried about, honestly, is the High Republic era is supposed to be, like, aren't the Sith supposed to be extinct at this point as well?
Yeah, it's during Bane's Rule of Two. So there's really, at that time, there's Darksiders, but they aren't Sith. They aren't the Sith. They might call themselves Sith, but then the Jedi would be like, that ain't no Sith.
No, yeah, because, like, because we have Darth Bane, who's the biggest bad who ever bad, essentially.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah, and then we have the Old Republic, which is KOTOR era, right?
Yes, yes. It would be KOTOR era.
Yeah.
It would be during all of that. Revan,
and yeah,
all of that.
Revan, all of that stuff. And then we go into the Revan and is when they established the Rule of Two, because Bane establishes the Rule of Two.
Bane establishes the Rule of Two after he kills all the Sith and almost all the Jedi.
Yeah.
With a Force suck ability that like drains the Force out of everyone,
That Palpatine
which we get
used.
hints of from Palpatine.
Yeah.
And then dude, Revan is one of the best Grey Jedis because he's just like he is the line.
I was about to say, if I remember Revan properly, he was like turned, then he came back, and then he turned again.
He flipped so many times that his body literally like split. I think, if I remember.
Yeah, and
correctly,
he had two versions
split.
of himself, and then they had to merge back together, and that's when he kind
And
of.
then when he died,
existing.
I'm pretty sure his evil became like a Sith spirit, and his good became a Jedi, like a good spirit. Like he literally split into two spirits. Revan's story is fucked,
and then
I love
after
it.
Revan, there's no notable Sith until
Bane would be the next. Like Bane, I think is during the era of Revan, if I remember correctly, during Legends. But like the tail end of Revan's era, and then he does the whole Force suck thing, and then he like there's one survivor during it, which is a little girl who he trains as his apprentice, creates the rule of two. She kills him,
but
creating the prophecy of.
So now I'm
the rule of
confused.
two.
I thought I thought Bane was before Revan. So how is Revan?
No, Bane is after Revan.
Okay. What?
Bane is after Revan. Bane does what he. Revan is during like KOTOR. Bane is at the end of the Old Republic.
Star Wars.
Bane
timelines.
essentially ends the Sith War that was happening, which the Sith Civil Wars were happening for years, and Revan was a part of those. And Bane finally went, you know what? The Sith suck. We can't be more than like two of us in a room without killing each other. The fuck? Wait, that gives me an idea. The rule of two.
Like, I'll be honest, one thing that I think I would enjoy better is what if instead of the rule of two being that we can only have two Sith because we're always killing each other, what if instead that there is only one Sith, technically? That there
Well, I
is-
mean, that's kind of what they did in Rise of Skywalker.
Exactly what the idea came from me, was what if there was only at every point only one Sith? What if Darth Revan or Darth Bane or whoever is the ultimate Sith was all that ever really was, and he put his power into one body because he possessed them. Then as he starts training
Hey,
somebody
you're talking
else,
about what he did to Palpatine, by the way. He in Legends, Bane embodied Palpatine, and then left Palpatine's body, went into Solo, took over Solo's son, Jason, and became Darth Cassius.
But the only difference is I don't want Revan, like if Bane or Revan, whoever it is, when he leaves,
Bane.
that they're still Palpatine. Like I would like it to be like Revan enters Palpatine and then he is just Revan in Palpatine's body and that's it. And sure, he could play it off being like, yes, the rule of the Sith is there's always me and the apprentice. But the whole idea is that his immortality is the fact that he's just going from body to body, so he'll kill
You
the
are
person.
talking about what they did because that was Bane's plan, was to embody the Chosen One.
Okay.
Because Anakin would have been the perfect body for him. And then Anakin got his limbs cut off and became a cyborg, and Bane's like, shit, there goes that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, he had a son. Palps, can you bring that son here?
Yeah, so like,
Palpatine had no idea that he was under Bane's control during that. Bane just does it. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. So like to me, the thing I don't like about the explanation that you're giving is that Palpatine is unwillingly controlled by Revan. But he's still kind of
I would
Palpatine.
say it's willingly because I think Bane kind of did it in the sense of this is what the Force guides you to do. Again, the Force works in mysterious ways.
The way I'm imagining it is like as soon as Bane enters your body, he becomes you. And
that's what it seems like would be what it was in Rise of Skywalker.
Exactly. And then once the apprentice kills the master, the spirit goes completely into the apprentice. And now the apprentice is just Bane, and that's it. And then he starts training his next generation and slowly starts giving the powers to that person until the apprentice kills that master and then goes into that body. And like that's what I think would be a cool Sith.
I'd be down for that. The stories of Bane.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. Well, and the problem with doing the High Republic era too, let's talk about this, is that the Sith the Sith weren't known, so how are we going to have a big bad during that era? I'm sorry, but
Mhm.
like we can't. There needs to be like are the Huts? Are we gonna really make the Huts the big bad? What are we gonna make the big bad during that era? Because they're just. It also depends on what parts of lore they take from and stuff like that. There's overarching questions of choosing that era. Because there's no definitive thing that you could choose from that era. Because no offense, it's a boring era. Yes, it's kind of the Wild West, but we're getting our own Western with Mandalorian.
Yeah, I just looked up. Apparently, an article from February explains that uh, the villains quite possibly are from an old book called. It just says Star Wars: The High Republic novels, and the villain they're talking about is called the Nihil, Nihil, and they're equatable to space Vikings.
Oh, them.
So, but still, so we're gonna see not as refined future space wizards fighting against alien space Vikings, but that doesn't sound like Star Wars to me.
Also, I mean, anything can be Star Wars, Steven. You said it earlier.
True.
Sorry, that was a fun moment to throw your words at you for a second.
It's fine.
Honestly, and they also sound a lot like the Yazavog. Like, because the Yazavog are like intruders into the main
Mm-hmm.
galaxy from the unknown regions, and they just started invading and started taking planets and stuff like that, and started taking over stuff. So I don't know. It's but the other thing is too. Are we gonna make them sympathetic? Are they not sympathetic? Are they gonna be more? Are they gonna be like, how are they gonna be betrayed? What are we gonna do? Are they gonna get like? How do you resolve that?
Like,
The only way I see resolving it is either you eliminate them, which makes the Jedi look bad, or you make them, have a good one, bread,
Ski.
or you
Have a good night.
kind of integrate them into your society like down the road. Which, no offense, as much as I like politics and stuff, man, have we had enough politics of Star Wars?
Like, the only thing that would maybe make sense to me, it'd be like, what if this whole debate is going to be between whatever the invading species is, race, whatever invading it is. Like, my bet is going to be like, the invaders see themselves as heroes for their race because their homeworld is dying and they need to find a new place to settleize, and some random mumbo jumbo. I don't know.
It sounds like Star Trek.
Yeah, at that
It
point.
seems like it's gonna go Star Trek-y, which I'm sorry,
I
Star
almost-
Wars isn't Star Trek.
I almost feel like that's the way it has to be. Because the one thing that I've always, like, that Star Wars has always had
yeah.
is the small universe problem. Where it feels like no matter where you are in the universe, you could be to that other place in a matter of seconds. And I feel like we have to make that not the option in an Old Republic type thing, where you have to slowly expand.
But that's kind of what the High Republic is. Like, that would be the High Republic would be the Star Federation era.
Yeah, where they're expanding and meeting these species and introducing new Jedi into the Order.
Oh, fuck. No! The meme becomes art. Art imitates life! But it said art imitate meme! No! Okay, let's just move on to OG Trilogy at this point. I'm distraught.
Sure, let's talk about the best part of the Star Wars. The original trilogy, the OG trilogy.
The OG Trilogy!
Which,
Let's go.
one thing I have to mention, Clone Wars, since one thing I didn't like about Clone Wars, is I didn't like how they constantly took scenes from movies and put them into the Clone Wars because they could. Like, the one instance that I could think of specifically, it's more Episode 3 that they pull from than it does the OG, where they do the Obi-Wan and Anakin are flying in their speeders, the missiles shoot by and explode buzz droids, and the buzz droids land on the speeders, or on their ships, not speeders, as they're trying to get to Grievous's command ship.
Okay.
they do that again in like season 4 of Clone Wars, where it's Anakin in one ship and Ahsoka in the other. Then you get the exact same missile shot pop, and it lands on the droid, and like that's the one.
Well,
gratuitous
also
one
during that, it introduces buzz droids.
True.
Is what I would say to the universe, because maybe buzz droids hadn't been seen yet, and that's a new droid. I can't remember season 4. It's been a while since I watched the Clone Wars. I will fully admit that.
But it happens with a handful of scenes where they'll just change one thing or one situation where it's the universe poetry thing, but it's so heavy-handed where it's like, I feel like if I was Anakin later on in the movies where he's like standing there and he's like, I feel like I've done this before. Yeah. Like, that's how it feels sometimes.
Well, the other thing too is with one thing from Clone Wars 2 Episode 3 that they did is I appreciate them adding that Obi-Wan knew.
About Padme?
Yes, because it does add to that, like, why he would go to Padme first during that scene to figure out where Anakin is.
Mm-hmm.
That's where he went. He knew. Like, because let's be real, if he didn't know during that time, he wouldn't have gone there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He would have gone to, like, he would have probably gone to somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't have made sense to go to Padme.
Oh, hiccups. But no, you're right.
I appreciate that scene. Because also, like, it does add to the theory. It proves the theory that Obi-Wan knew and just kind of let it happen because, A, they're in the middle of a war. So some things can slide.
The one thing I don't like, well, now that I think about it, is Anakin allows things to slide, or Obi-Wan allows things to slide with Anakin all the time. And then it feels like Anakin later on, and by proxy Darth Vader, allows things to slide because of that stuff. Like, I'm specifically thinking of end of season 7, where we see Vader, and he finds the saber.
Yes.
And then it makes me feel like he knows, but he doesn't at the same time. Like, I don't know what they're trying to say at that moment specifically.
You'll understand more in Rebels.
Because to my knowledge at the moment, it makes it seem like he either thinks she's dead or he knows and just letting her go. And then later on in Rebels, they have a fight where it's like the first time they've seen each other since the orders happened. It's basically how it feels.
Since before Mandalore.
Yeah. And they do their fight and all that stuff. And then from our perspective, she's taken out of the fight with the magic, this time travel stuff. And then she's brought back, but Darth Vader's leaving as she's brought back. So that's 2 moments in time where if he was being the chosen one, he could obviously tell that Ahsoka was there.
Well, the thing is, also with that suit, his powers, at least, like, because that would be, sensing people would be more of a light side thing, I guess. Or connection to the Force, like the greater Force, is more of a light side. Dark side is manipulating the Force.
But I mean...
so some of your stuff is going to be diminished if you're not allowing light, if that makes sense.
I'll allow that, but at the same time, we also have lines in Episode 4 where he's like, I felt a presence that I haven't felt in a long time. And in Clone Wars itself, we get to see Maul be like, I feel the presence that I haven't... My master! Like...
But they're in close proximity with each other. Ahsoka, and we don't know where Ahsoka leaves the planet from. We don't know exactly where Vader leaves that planet from. They could be on opposite ends of the fucking planet at that point. My thing about that scene with Clone Wars is that it sets up Anakin potentially because there's a scene in Clone Wars that happens that is detrimental to Ahsoka figuring some stuff out, and I think that sets that up because that bird is important to Clone Wars or to Rebels,
Okay.
And to Clone Wars because it is it's related to one of the 3 entities.
Okay, so I guess the ultimate question then I have is, do you think him picking up the saber is immediately after 66, or do you think it's a couple years down the line?
Oh, it's years down the line because
Okay.
there's snow. It's years down the line because we have because
I was about to say snow
like,
means it's a different season, so it could be months, maybe, not.
we don't know how our planet
years.
works.
Yeah.
But it's years because we have stormtroopers
Mhm.
and snowtroopers, which wouldn't have happened until like 2 to 3 years after. Um, and based off decay of the helmets and everything around over there too, because like not all the helmets are still stood up on a stick; they're broken down. Which damn, that fucking setup was
Yes.
sad. Jesse too. God damn it, Jesse.
Dude,
Oh.
there's a lot of emotions in the season. Like, literally, even though I didn't have the same 6-7 year gap between season 6 and season 7, I definitely teared up in some of the moments that season 7 had that were intentionally like, I built this up because I could. Because we know that you haven't seen this in years. Like, just
Man.
Ahsoka and Anakin meeting. I teared up a little
Oh
bit.
man.
And I was like,
I was like, oh. And when she shuts him down for a moment, and then they have their like real conversation, I'm like,
yeah,
oh man.
exactly.
And then the lightsaber. Oh god, and walking
just
into
the
the
army.
room and seeing
Yeah, just seeing the
oh
army.
my god. Rex, seeing Rex. Attention.
And then all of them with the paint.
Oh man. And it was always so sad to see those specced in with the other troopers during the fights against her, because you real like, oh god.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, that's
Anyways.
really bitter. But now back to the OG trilogy.
Yes. Okay. Man, if we didn't like, God, imagine a world without this trilogy.
It'd be a dark, sad place.
It really would. I don't know the kind of person I would be without Star Wars. Not gonna lie, I wouldn't be this. Straight up, I don't know who I would be without Star Wars. I probably would have been more sports related and stuff like that.
Probably be a
I wouldn't have
Trekkie.
gotten in. I don't even know if I would have ended up being a Trekkie. I mean, my dad's a Trekkie. So maybe I would have ended up being a Trekkie, but I don't know if Star Trek would be what it is without Star Wars. Let's be real.
Yeah, Star Wars definitely. It's like it's hard to say. We could wax hypothetical all day long about what the world would be like without Star Wars. Star Wars, literally, it. I wouldn't call it a monoculture necessarily. Like, I would where the whole world is established around this one thing and focusing on this one story at this one point in time. I don't think Star Wars ever really reached that status where the whole world was revolving around it. But at the same time, it has made so many iconic things have happened. So many, like, it set the precedent of sci-fi and a lot of modern movies.
Yeah,
It's amazing what
we won't have what we have sci-fi wise without Star Wars. Like that's how I look at it. Like, if we didn't have that in 2001: The Space Odyssey, those are the two, in my opinion, and maybe Trek as well, but like Trek for different reasons.
Yeah, Trek, oddly enough, isn't very sci-fi show. It's a lot more of a philosophical and sociological show where it's about.
But
people.
2001: The Space Odyssey and Star Wars are the two biggest impacts to sci-fi, in my opinion, with maybe Blade Runner, which we'll get to later. But like, if we didn't have this OG trilogy, because we would never have had the what a way to establish a universe with an opening crawl, and then the first real scene of the movie, a ship enters and it's fighting, and you can already tell who's good, who's bad based off of just the blasters.
Like,
Or no, you can't even tell because it's reverse, right? Because the Empire's shooting the green blasters and the Rebels are shooting the red blasters. So, like, but you know they're on opposite sides based off of just blasters. And then we're aboard the Rebel cruiser, and just like all of the setup, like, and Vader entering, which, by the way, Vader doesn't have the Imperial March yet during that, because it hasn't been made yet. Imperial March shows up in Empire. And if we didn't have Empire, we wouldn't have arguably the president of what you set up as being what a sequel is supposed to be. Like, Empire is what a sequel is supposed to be, and also what a middle piece of a trilogy is supposed to be.
honestly, honestly, just the whole Sinner trilogy is just an epitome of storytelling as a whole.
Right?
They do great storytelling with characters and how they develop in the story. They do great storytelling with the props that they use and the visuals and the special effects and the practical effects and like and the fact that they change character dynamics. That the first the one thing that I love. Oh, you froze on me in the internet, so I have to get.
Did I?
Okay, you did for a second. Thank God.
Sorry.
Oh,
I was. My dad texted me. Sorry.
no worries. But the one thing I love, especially is Princess Leia. When you think Princess Leia, who's about to be saved, you think damsel in distress. But Princess Leia isn't a damsel in distress at any point.
No.
And in fact, she's
No,
the one.
she's
She's
not.
the reason why she escaped. Sure,
Yeah,
it starts
she
with
has
Luke and Han.
agency.
Yeah. But because she is a badass princess who knows what to do in stressful situations, she helps them escape. Even though she it's silly. And
Well, that's the thing. Like that, I think that's one of the to go to the prequels for a second. I think that's one of the most insulting things about Padme is she has 2 movies where she's kind of like that, and then 3 she's just sidelined. But compared to Leia, Leia does shit throughout the original trilogy, and is even doing stuff in the new trilogy, leading a fucking army. She's General Organa.
And in between, I know in between 6 and 7, her whole mission, even before the end of 6, a whole part of her life was, I'm stuttering, a whole part of her life was about just getting all the outcasts of Alderaan and trying to find them new homes. Those who weren't there,
Yeah.
but some of them didn't even know that their home planet was destroyed before, she went around starting to tell them, hey, Alderaan's exploded because of the Empire.
Yeah, she actually found her they talk a lot about that in Bloodlines. 'Cause that's one of the important things that they go over in Bloodlines because it's she talks about because one of the people she's working with isn't exactly I haven't finished the book so I don't know. He's kind of a not necessarily Empire sympathizer but he's one of those people that you walk into his house and he's got Nazi memorabilia and you're like, why the fuck do you have this? She's like, it's for history.
Yeah.
It's so I can study it and understand it.
And
you're
then, secretly deep down that they're racist.
Yeah, pretty much. You're like, yeah. I mean,
sorry, that's just funny.
but it happens in that show. She goes to his office in the Senate, and she's like, "What the fuck is this shit?" And he collects fucking essentially Nazi memorabilia.
I mean, isn't that kind of what happened with Dooku when you think about it? Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked again. Dooku's whole thing was he felt that the Jedi were too much in their own hubris that they couldn't see that the Sith are returning. And then he finds a vault of Sith imagery and icons locked away in the Jedi Temple. And that was the deciding moment that's wow, you guys are dumb. All anyone has to do is get into this vault and they can become a Sith and rule the galaxy. Hey, look! I'm a Sith now.
I mean, yeah. But yeah, no, Leia is honestly... Leia is the feminism icon.
She really is. And, even in...
I don't know if I have the right to say that, but, for me, she is, she's why I'm attracted to a strong, independent woman. I will fully admit that. Anytime, whenever there's... one of the most attractive things to me is a woman who literally just does her thing. It doesn't matter what, but she also cares about other people around her. But she doesn't need other people to save her necessarily. She'll take the help in hand.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's just she's Princess Leia. That's the best way to put it.
I'm trying to think of... There was a movie that we watched pretty recently. I think it was... Was it Mission Impossible? No, it was one of the James Bond movies. It was No Time to Die, I think. Casino Royale. My apologies. It was Casino Royale when he gets to meet... what's her name?
Oh, Viper.
Viper. Yeah, when he first meets Viper and they had that conversation where they start to...
Oh, God, yeah.
One of my favorite moments in that conversation is Bond saying, You're take charge woman who takes nothing from nobody. So your male coworkers find you bossy, and because of that bossiness, you get passed up for promotions. And it's like, wow, that's a lot of what modern times is like for women, isn't it? I wouldn't know since
Yeah.
I'm not a woman, but
From what friends have told,
mm-hmm.
yes. But like, damn, it's just she created the. I don't want to say she created the strong female role, but like, she is who, in my opinion, you archetype that off.
Mm-hmm.
Han is who you archetype the devilish rogue.
I say yes and no. I would say yes before we get introduced to Solo, like the movie Solo.
Yes, and also when he shoots Greedo first.
Yes. Like,
He's the rogue with a heart.
yeah, but as soon as we really get to see Solo, the movie Solo, it kind of turns him from the devilish rogue into being the mistaken good guy. And the devilish
The wrong path good guy.
Yeah, and the mistaken devilish rogue becomes Lando, where he's the one who knows what he's doing. He's smooth, and it's like Han is trying to become Lando. Essentially, is what his goal is.
Yeah, I like OG, original old school Han better.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be real. Like, no offense to the guy who played Solo in Solo. Honestly, it's no offense to him because I think he did a good job with what he was given. It's just what he was given, just kind of took everything out of who Han Solo was. And it's no fault to his own because in my opinion, he does a great job in that movie.
Yeah, like I remember though, there was a time when, right before the movie came out, where I was like, I don't know, the main actor had to get acting lessons on how to be a better Han Solo. So, and don't get me wrong, he does fine. The reason I excuse him is he's a person pretending to be Harrison Ford who has not become Harrison Ford yet.
Pretty much, yeah. he's what young Harrison is to us. And then of course, like, God, could you imagine a world without Mark Hamill becoming Luke Skywalker? I don't know if we would have gotten Joker. I don't know if we would have gotten like half of what Hamill has done for voice acting.
That's a good
acting.
question. I'll be honest though, because when I was young, I knew who Mark Hamill was only because of Luke Skywalker. It wasn't until I was probably like 14 or 15 before I learned that he was also a voice actor and had done like the Joker
was the icon, the embodiment of Joker.
Yeah.
Right? What a duology. He is Luke Skywalker, but also on the complete other end of the spectrum. Fucking goddamn Joker? What the fuck?
It's actually kind of funny because almost all of these actors are lucky because they've gotten to progress to other roles. Where Han got to be Indiana Jones, where he got to be Agent Decker, where so much more. And Luke got to become the Joker, and then he became a famous voice actor who does so much more other than that. I don't really know what happens with Leia and Carrie Fisher's timeline, but I know she has a fairly successful career, but nothing like Han, nothing like Harrison Ford.
What she did after? Let's scroll down to episode 6.
And that could just be because she's
notable,
female.
but she's in a movie like every year after that. So that's like 93, 94, 96. But it looks like she's she kept, or at one of those series I know she was in was actually Blues Brothers. I don't know if that was before or after that though. Let me see. Blues Brothers was after episode 5, as a mystery one. But I believe she's the ex-wife. But she's also she was in Scream 3. She was in a lot. She's been in a lot of stuff since then.
Mm-hmm. She's. I guess the thing getting at is she's not in really big iconic roles. But either way, the main actors in these movies still became pretty well known afterwards. Modern actors who are known for one main role sadly don't branch out as much anymore. Like
Except for maybe Daniel
Radcliffe.
Radcliffe.
But even
Yeah.
then, his other roles other than Harry Potter, like the only other movie that I can think of that I've seen with him in it is the one where he becomes a devil, and I don't remember the name of that character or the name of that movie.
I think that's Horns.
That sounds right.
Let me see. Am I right? God, yeah, it's Horns.
Yeah, and I
He was
know
also
he's
in
making a movie where
Swiss
he's.
Army Man.
Yeah, I was about to say he's making.
Guns Akata came out last year.
Yeah.
Guns Akimbo, sorry. He was also in another one. He was in Now You See Me Too. As the villain of that one.
I didn't see Now You See Me Too because I thought Now You
I
See
didn't
Me
see
One was
Nationals.
ridiculous.
Let's be real, it is.
I'm a magician. We're all magicians, but we're gonna rob a bank.
I mean, and Emma Watson has done stuff since then too. But like, the rest of them haven't like, yeah, the rest of the franchise people, other than like Marvel franchise people who get cast and stuff outside of when they're doing an Avenger thing, or when they eventually their character kind of comes to its close. Like, outside of Marvel, I don't really know anyone who's like huge roles that they've gotten since like their iconic franchise character outside of Star Wars.
Yeah, like name a Scarlett Johansson character before Black Widow. That's kind of hard to do. We could name one afterwards where she was a ghost in a shell, but
let's not talk about that. God damn it, Scarlett. God damn it. I hate that. I hate that so much. I'm sorry. That pisses me off. I'm sorry. That should go to goddamn Japanese female actress could have taken that role. I'm just saying.
I'm on both sides of the argument because if they wanted to be true to the original, yeah, sure, absolutely, they should have had somebody who wasn't Scarlett Johansson take it. But at the same time, the glory of making movies is that you could change the movie. You can change anything you want about the movie. You could put anybody in the role. You could make, what's his name? Oh, I'm trying to think of Thor, the guy who could see everything.
Heimdall?
Heimdall, yeah. You can make Heimdall black, and it doesn't matter.
Yes, but okay. My counterpoint to that is, if the role is original, off topic for a second, if the role is originally a minority character in the thing, and that it's based off of, that doesn't get a lot of representation in movie in the first place, in Hollywood or anything like that, I think it would be. It's.
I guess my question is all of that movie whitewashed, or is it just the main character?
I believe some of the other characters that aren't whitewashed that are white, I think are supposed to be that, but she is supposed to be Japanese.
Okay. Like, because I haven't seen the Ghost in the Shell anime nor the movie, so
nor have I.
Like,
or I've not read the manga.
Yeah. So I guess my question is if she is supposed to be Japanese, and the people she's fighting are supposed to be Japanese, but none of them in the movie are Japanese, then yes, I would have a problem with it. But if she's supposed to be Japanese and she's white, and the characters are supposed to be Japanese and they are Japanese, then I probably might still have a problem with it, because then you're definitely changing something. Sorry. So if both parties, I meant to say if both parties were changed, if both were supposed to be a foreign race that's not white, and then sorry, I said that wrong too. If either way, if they were supposed to be any other race,
I would still think the first option is still wrong, because you're taking roles from people who don't have that representation. I guess is how I would put it. Because like, honestly, representation is very important in Hollywood, in my opinion, because if we don't have that, then we don't have new, like, how I would put it is, if we didn't have, like, Jordan Peele casting 90% of his movie being African-American, okay? The other percent of that would have been, for, like, This Is Us, is, like, the white family in it,
Mm-hmm.
with what's her name, who was an Invisible Woman or Invisible Man, like that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you don't have like someone for those people to identify with, which means they may not have as many ideas for maybe creative ideas to bring to Hollywood and stuff like that, right? Because that's important in my opinion. Is that like you give these people someone who they can identify as and be in that movie who they can identify as.
Mm-hmm.
Because to be honest, it's really easy to find a movie that a white male or female can identify as in a movie.
Mm-hmm. I gave you that, yes. I actually had this argument once with someone in my film school where it was a project I was doing with somebody and we had to pitch a movie. And we had an argument for about half an hour because she was what I would consider a super feminist. Like the worst kind of feminist who will. No, she almost didn't want to work with me just because I was a guy. Like that kind of feminist.
Okay.
And we argued for about half an hour because she's like, we need to do this, that, and this and send a message because there are no movies that does this. And the argument that I had with her was, sure, we could make these and have make these roles, like her thing. If she wanted to make a horror movie about a transsexual man becoming a woman and somehow make that scary. And, like, I could see how it could work out. But at the same time, I was like, why? What's the message you're trying to say? Like, there's all these stuff in the background that you're trying to do when you're writing these stuff. And she essentially wanted to make this movie just because. She's like, I want this character to be this because this. And, like, her ultimate reasoning is essentially because we don't have this representation. Let's just throw it all in there and get it done with. And part of me, like her intake of that, in that instance with her, I had to tone a lot of it out and cut a lot of it down because she just threw it in there because she felt it needs to happen, and I feel like some of that stuff has to be earned at times. Sure, with Ghost in the Shell directly, it would have been better if they just stuck to the original and had.
What do you mean by earned?
Like, what's the message essentially? If the whole point of
my
having
counter
this,
argument.
sorry,
to that.
I guess let me finish. Sorry, I didn't say that properly. I guess the whole point is this character a minority just because we don't have any minorities in the main role, or is this a minority because there's a message in the movie that needs to be said?
I think both are fine, given movies that like Transformers exist.
That's true.
Like, what's the message of Transformers? I'm sorry, there isn't. It's Michael Bay's excuse to make stupid movies.
I keep
But no one questions it.
side tangent real fast. We can keep going. I keep seeing more and more arguments that Michael Bay is one of the best directors of our time. Just so you know. Right? Like every other day.
I'm the casual. What?
Yeah, like every other day, I keep seeing more and more articles about how Michael Bay tells amazing stories through action, and I'm not going to keep going, but you get the point.
We've been off topic for a while. We should probably wrap up soon. OG trilogy. We wouldn't be where we are without Star Wars, right? Let's be real. Star Wars is what like we are where we are because of Star Wars. I think I am where I am right now because of Star Wars. Let's be real. So like, I don't know. Thank you, Star Wars, for being what you are. You big mess of things I love, things I hate sometimes, and things that I choose to ignore its existence. Sub Christmas special and Ewoks, and droids.
I was about to say, if the bottom end of the scale, if we were going to say 1 to 10, would the bottom end, would 1 be Jar Jar, or would it be the Wookiee Christmas special?
Wookiee Christmas special doesn't exist, so it's not
a
on
0.
the scale.
Okay.
It's not on the scale.
Okay.
So not even
1
a 0.
is Jar Jar?
It doesn't exist. Yes.
Okay. So what would be 10?
Empire.
Just the movie Empire Strikes Back is 10? I know we gave it a 10, but
I don't know. We didn't rate
We
those.
didn't
We
rate
didn't rate
them
any of them.
still.
We didn't rate any of them. But it is our number one. And honestly, if we rated it, it would be the one time I would force you to let me break the rule. It's the one movie that, without a doubt, I would be like, Steven, I have to rate this higher than a 10. It's Empire Strikes Back. I'm sorry. Empire Strikes Back is my favorite movie of all time.
I feel like we need to change our grading system to a bell curve. It's like if you're
So
gonna
things in
break the
retrospect-
system. Go ahead. Sorry.
things in retrospect, we could like get lower or higher based off of the curve.
It's just in general. Like we have a 1 to 10 for a reason. You can't give all your favorite movies a 10 because if you have an even more favorite movie, you can't break a 10.
But yeah, but there are some movies that like can't be under a 10. Like, let's be real. Into the Spider-Verse.
I mean,
We gave that a 10 for a reason.
we could go back. I could be a harsh critic if you want me to.
That is arguably the perfect animated movie. Other than maybe Toy Story.
3 or 4.
Toy Story?
Or are you talking about the original Toy Story?
Talking about the first two, more
Okay.
than likely. Not that 3 and 4 are bad at all. I still think they'd probably be 10s in my book. Just for enjoyment factors and kid points.
But me watching original Toy Stories, I would not give that a 10. Mainly because of the animation. But
The animation is beautiful for its dude, it's revolutionary.
it's revolutionary for its time. But comparing old Toy Story to modern Toy Story, not even close.
Well, no, because of how far they've come.
Exactly.
We want to.
I do. I rate things on how I feel about the movies right now. Right in the time of watching the movies.
This guy.
All right,
So should we wrap up? We've been
So-
going on for 4 hours.
3 hours.
Fucking
thank
3
you.
hours.
So tell
Fuck.
me
This
why
is the
you like
second
Han
week in a
Solo.
row. Han Solo is, again, in my mind, Solo never happened in some cases. And he is our devilish rogue. He is the man who shot first. The guy who did the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs, and we never saw how that happened. And is arguably the guy who has the most iconic line of all time. Almost all time of, I know. Like, could you imagine a world where if you told someone I love you, and you said I know, and they didn't get it? And they didn't know why you said it?
See, I just imagine the world where most people don't understand why he says that still. I feel like that's modern times anyways. Where
It's because he says it because he knows.
it's not about the words, it's about the connections.
Yeah.
That's what the Force is. It's about emotions and just the being with each other.
And he knows that she loves him.
And he loves her,
Like it-
but...
Yeah.
I know.
He doesn't have to say that I love you because he knows. And then I loved in return when that gets flipped, when she pulls out the blaster and he's like, I love you. She's like, I know. It's one of my favorite moments because it's just like, oh.
See, like, that's one of my
I
favorite
want
moments.
that.
Like, that feels genuinely earned. Absolutely.
Yes.
Where I love you, I know, I love you, I know. Now, the big question is the dad I know from episode 9, is that earned? Or is that just kind of a throw in for
That's
nostalgia?
a complicated question, is it not?
It's very complicated.
Like, I want to say, like, part of me feels like, because Kylo is the best part of the new trilogy.
I'll agree with that.
So part of it for me is earned because of how Adam Driver portrays that character. But the problem is his redemption arc is that.
Yeah.
That's my problem with it.
But Kylo Ren dies when he's stabbed by his own lightsaber. And he becomes Ben when he's healed.
Yeah, I know, I get it, but it's lame as hell.
I
That
agree with you.
scene-
It's lame as hell.
That scene, I feel, it would be more earned if we had that. If the movie had more earned moments, I guess. I think it's on the movie why I don't feel it's as earned as it should be. But I appreciate what it's trying to do because if there was any conversation that would turn Ben back into Ben, it would be that conversation with Han after everything.
Mhm.
It was like I know it's almost a complete callback to, the all the lines are almost line for
It's-
line for what happened.
No, it is. It's exactly. I think that was the point. It's basically line for line between Kylo Ren and then Ben Solo, and the
Yes.
different reactions between the two characters in the one body, essentially.
Yes, and if the movie was better, I'd say it'd be earned. But I still like it because of I feel like it. If that God, if the sequel trilogy was better, it would be better, if that makes sense. Like I think it's on the sequel trilogy why I don't feel it's as earned.
So essentially, you like it because it fits for Han Solo, but it doesn't fit for Kylo in the moment.
No, I think it fits for Kylo too.
Oh, sorry, let me rephrase that. Like, you like it because it's quintessential Han Solo in this prequel, in this postmodern moment. But does this modern trilogy deserve this really genuine Han Solo moment?
Yeah, that's the problem, and I don't think that the trilogy itself has earned that moment.
Okay.
The trilogy kind of fails in hindsight at being a trilogy.
I almost want, how do I explain that? Like, I feel like I would have been happier if the movie was a little bit different to where, like, I don't know how it would resolve, but I would prefer if in the second movie Leia passes away, and then in the third movie Anakin does.
Luke?
Sorry, Luke, my apologies. But yes. I almost feel like that
I
would
could see
work
that being
out
better.
better. But I don't know. But yeah, the Han
Again,
Solo guy.
we could rewrite that. We could rewrite the sequel trilogy 1,000 times to make it better. Let's be real. It's just how it is. Yeah, I don't know how much more I could talk. I mean, I could talk for a long time.
No worries.
But
So I have one last thing to talk about. I forgot to pull it up, so I wanted to see what it was. We got news. 2 newses, technically.
Okay.
So I'm going to quickly switch this over. It's news time. So, quick things of news.
News time.
First one that I wanted to talk about was, did you know that they're working on a live-action Hercules movie for Disney Plus?
For Disney Plus.
I believe Disney's working on it. I don't know if it's for Disney Plus specifically, but I'm going to say it is. Because
It's not gonna be for Disney Plus. It'll be live action.
no movies. It is a live-action movie.
It'll be. I
but
mean, it'll be theaters. They're not gonna not do that for.
probably. You're probably true, right? But the reason I say Disney Plus is because of our second story. Did you hear about the AMC and the NBC Universal fight that's going on right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
How interesting.
I
Does it feel like AMC's shooting itself in the foot?
absolutely. For those of you who don't know, NBC Universal has come out and said, thanks to the very good profits of Trolls World Tour going out to digital release and earning 5 times the amount of money that the original Trolls movie made going to theaters, they decided that for the foreseeable future that they are going to release all movies digitally and theatrically at the same time. And you can rent your specific way you choose. AMC has gone back and said, that's not how our business works, because, we need the theatrical time or else we're not making money. So as long as you're going to release at the same time they're doing theater releases, we will not host your movies in our show. So yeah, NBC Universal will no longer be, at the moment, shown in AMC theaters. So movies like, I don't know, Fast and Furious 9 and
Transformers 6.
yeah. Like all of these big blockbusters movies that'll be coming out that AMC
big ones?
needs.
The big moneymakers, like I hate saying it, but Transformers is a huge moneymaker. Fast I'm okay with because it's just dumb fun.
Mhm.
I enjoy those dumb funs.
They've got interesting kids movies coming out fairly soon.
Right? It's just you're shotgun blasting your legs off, AMC. I'm sorry, but the cinema is in a weird place right now, and you're just making it go faster to that direction.
Yeah, like as soon as I heard about the first thing I thought was I saw that NBC Universal announced that it was going to be releasing its stuff at the same time, and my first thought was, "Uh-oh, that doesn't sound good," because movie theaters are already dying as is. So if they do that, that's just going to kill the theaters, isn't it? And then AMC responds going, essentially, yes, that's going to kill us. So we're not going to support you. But in not supporting
we're
them...
just going to kill ourselves faster.
Exactly.
Got you.
Without supporting NBC Universal, there's no way that they'll have enough big blockbuster hits to draw in enough constant audience to maintain all of their theaters. This seems
Disney's got some more screenings then.
Yeah, this seems like a bad bluff, honestly.
Yes, it does. I'm interested to see how this plays out, because honestly, I don't see how that works out for AMC. Well, the other thing too is, my opinion is if you're gonna rent it from home, odds are you weren't a fan of the theater in the first place. And two, sorry for the cheaper people, because it is more expensive to rent it at home. Cheaper people like yourself or I are probably going to go to the theater to watch it because it's cheaper to buy a movie ticket and not buy a bunch of extra shit while you're there. It's how I normally go to the movies. I at Max usually buy myself a soda. Maybe if I'm feeling frisky, I'm like, ooh, I can go for some popcorn and maybe a hot dog. Those disgusting fucking hot dogs that will probably kill me faster, but a little frisky. I got a nice check this week. Fuck it. Why not? But no, this AMC, no.
Yeah,
you're blowing your legs off, bro.
The thing that kind of sucks about this is the only reason why the digital release is excusable is if you have more than 2 people going with you to every single movie. If it's just one person, like myself, who doesn't get snacks, doesn't get soda, just goes into the movie with my notebook and a pen and starts writing as soon as the lights go down. I spend $9 a week, and that's, well, technically $12 with tax and stuff, but whatever. And that's it. But,
right.
and if I get popcorn and stuff, sure, it goes up to about, I'll say 25. But still.
Yeah.
Just for one person to go to the theaters alone, it's cheaper to go alone. But if you have a family, say kids movies, I think kids movies would do pretty well digital releases, but that's the problem, is that kids movies are where a lot of the money and blockbusters come from now. You don't make money off of adult films, sadly. You make money off of kids who take their parents to the movies.
Yeah. We'll see how this works out. We're in a new era.
All because
at this point, I might as well just... I want to get my own place where I can build my own home theater. Hey, you want to work on getting a place together?
That'd be expensive. But that'd be nice. Surround sound theater, projection screen.
Right.
We could also make the projection screen project out a window and then set up an outdoor projection with a pool. Now we're talking about being rich, so...
Yeah. That'd be cool. And we could turn the theater into our set for when we're doing this.
We just need a guest room. How about that?
Well, I would want my own office as well.
So we need 4 bedrooms?
Yes?
We need a bedroom for you, a bedroom for me, a bedroom for the har stuff, and then you want your own office, apparently. So...
I mean, you're cool with it. And I mean, if you want an office.
So 5 bedrooms, and this is just between the 2 of us. We're going to need some roommates, so let's look for 8 bedrooms and hope that the others don't want 2 rooms as well.
Or that they make enough money to do the 2 rooms.
Money. Alright, we're done here.
Yeah, we are. Thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for hanging out with us for Star Wars Day.
Yep.
The 4th be with you.
Star Wars Day.
Star Wars Day. Next week is starting our Indiana Jones journey, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Are those on? Those are on Disney Plus, right?
I believe so. I'm not 100% sure, though.
Let me double check.
But yeah, they next week will be the first 2 Indiana Jones movies. Then the week after that will be the last 2 Indiana Jones. And then we're doing not Cyberpunk.
I don't think they are.
Oh, well. We'll find them. We'll figure life out. And so will you.
Weird.
Everything will be okay. This is just a phase. It'll all come to an end eventually.
Darkness. Curtain closes.
All right. Anything else you want to say before we head out?
Hopefully we'll see you guys next week. This is it's always interesting to do something a little bit different on this show because it's not that the show gets monotonous. Okay, they're all on Netflix, by the way. The show isn't necessarily monotonous, but it is fun to throw something different into it
Absolutely.
occasionally.
So,
So,
a very
yeah.
different, but still critically casual.
yes.
So yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. We'll see you next week for the Indiana Jones movies. Follow us on Twitter, join our Discord, YouTube. We post these. Yep. I got nothing else.
I got nothing either.
All right. So, thanks everybody. Thanks for the follows and the subs and all that fun stuff.
Oh.
And we will see you guys next week, where Dev will replace that gas that he just released with the bag of sand. Steal some.
God, we're gonna watch Temple of Doom this one, aren't we?
I think that's this week, yeah.
Oh boy.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Enough.